Welcome to episode 19 of the Dimensional Cascade podcast. Welcoming back Tom.
Hello.
Finally, who disappeared into workland somewhere.
Yeah.
And I have, of course, with me our resident paint guru, Ricky.
Hello.
And we're joined from afar for the very first time. Ooh, this is we're popping our remote podcasting cherry with John Kersey, who is joining us from the very distant land of Portland. John, welcome.
Where is this Portland?
Portland. It's somewhere stuck in the 90s, according to the TV show. Is it really as bad as that Portlandia TV show? I mean, that show is pretty awful, but how accurate is it?
I think that the Portlandia show is a caricature of Portland, but to be quite honest, it's pretty on the nose.
Okay.
I think Portland has a higher content of smelly hippies and your standard beatnik.
Okay.
But we're not as bad as having the your crazy amount of homeless and stabby people. So it's good.
Okay. So it makes up for it.
I'd rather have hippies than stabby people. So yeah,
It's true. I think that sounds like a fair trade.
Not me.
No.
I hate long-haired hippies.
Well, the downside is you get a higher ratio of hipsters. So
Yeah.
it's a give and take.
It's the West Coast. I mean, it's nothing but hipsters from top to tail. Okay, so on that shiny, happy note, John is here to talk to us about the tournament that he's running, and we'll get into that in just a minute. So it's been about a month since we podcast, and before that it was a month, and we've gone from being a fortnightly podcast to being a monthly podcast. I partially blame Tom, just because he's kind of responsible for everything.
yeah. I'm happy to accept responsibility.
I partially blame his fellow countrymen in Nottingham for messing with our hobby and, killing the world. But I think it's just the community at large is waiting with bated breath for the 9th bomb to drop. And so everybody's kind of in a weird funk, and I think we're going to talk a little bit about that a bit later.
We're going to talk about Warhammer Funk. That's good because mine is at all-time funky levels.
Max fun.
All-time
That's what the
levels
smell
of funk.
is.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All right. So we do have a pit lined up, and we will get into that soon. We're going to change the format just a little. We're going to do the tournament zone first, but our contenders for the pit later today. We're going back to our I don't think these guys are quite featherweight category, but maybe like bantamweight or welterweight. I don't know I'm not sure about the weight categories.
Does that mean they're just going to dance around and hug each other for 45 minutes?
I think the lightweight categories in boxing are much more likely to actually punch each other because
I was alluding particularly to the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight.
Yes.
Which
it was apparently very bad.
quite farcical.
Yeah, especially because you had to pay $100 for it, which is pretty ridiculous. Anyway, so I don't know which one's Pacquiao, which one's Mayweather, but we've got Chakax, the Eternity Warden, coming back to see if he can do a little bit better against someone that doesn't have always strikes first. However, he is facing off against Draika, who has hatred, which really, I guess, doesn't really give him too much of an advantage. But they're both hero-level characters. He's not trying to take out Belagar, who knocked his blocks off last time. Yeah, exactly.
Whack-a-mole him.
So we'll go through their rules and stuff in the pit. In the tournament zone, like I said, we're going to talk with John about his tournament. We've also got a little bit of reports about Sparkle Party 6. It was 6, right?
6. Yeah.
6, yeah. Getting ahead of myself. The Regiment of Renown, and also Victory or Death up in North Vancouver that the Chumphammer blokes run. So we got quite a few tournaments to cover off, and later on in the Art of War and in the Hobby Horse, for both sections, we're going to be focusing on scenery and terrain. So how to build it, some in the hobby section, and how to use it on the battlefield to your advantage in the Art of War. All right, so with very little further ado, let's roll into the tournament zone.
Where does Warhammer Funk fit into that whole thing? Or does it just permeate every category?
It's kind of going to be the news and rumors section because there's not actually any news and the rumors are all funk.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I might have to just record a whole new intro for Warhammer Funk, because I've got this Warhammer Funk kind of backbeat now in my head.
Yeah.
It's I'm gonna have to do something there.
Very bluesy.
Something funky. Yeah. All right. I have no idea if I'm going to edit that part out or not, but with that ramble, let's go into the tournament zone.
The tournament zone.
Let's start with the OFCC. So OFCC, if I'm remembering rightly, stands for the Ordo Fanaticus Club Challenge. And this is the biggest tournament in the Northwest region, and I am going to let John talk all about it. Go.
All right. Thank you, Aiden. And again, thank you for having me on your show to talk about the event.
Well, you didn't shut up about it.
And we also appreciate you also being a sponsor of the event as well.
No
we're happy to see the Dimensional Cascade making their second appearances on it as well.
Yeah.
So OFCC. So OFCC is the second year we've run a combined event for the Ordo Fanaticus Club Challenge. We've actually been running this event for close to 13 years now. It all started back when the Seattle GT scene was really big for Warhammer, and we decided that a group of our founders for the club decided to go ahead and create an event for hobbyists. Primarily because the tournament scene kind of left a bad taste in a lot of their mouths. The hyper-competitive, non-friendly list that didn't espouse the virtues of what they wanted to have in a game. So they created the Ordo Fanaticus Club Challenge, or the OFCC, and it originally started out as being one for fantasy and one for 40K, and it was an event for hobbyists, as I said before, where it really emphasized painting, the hobby, sportsmanship, and playing 5 games with a bunch of friends over a weekend. And this became very popular, and it continued over years and years and years. And as the event grew, we began to reach out to other clubs, and we began to form greater relationships. So instead of becoming a Portland and Vancouver, Washington, event, we started bringing our friends from Idaho, from Northern Washington, from Bellevue, and soon we started inviting clubs like WCP, with like Dan Miner, and then all of a sudden we started bringing in
Vancouver,
Chop.
BC. Yep.
So we had it became a really big event where we brought the entire Pacific Northwest into our sandbox to play with each other for a couple of days. It was great. And like I said, for about a decade, we had 2 events. We had the 40K and the fantasy event, where we had multiple teams, 4 or 5 players playing against other teams of 4 to 5 players. And we had like an internal balancing system to where we ensured that we didn't have uber powerful lists or, things that would be unfun for our players to play against. And that worked out pretty well for a couple of years. Until last year, we decided to go ahead and combine the events into one big 4-day event, which we just called the OFCC, in which we had 40K and fantasy operating at the same time in the same house.
Oh, so
and
that
was very successful last year.
That was the first time you'd done that? Because that was the first one that we went to. Myself, Ricky, and Tom went down, and we're joined by Ronnie Cox from Olympia to form a team. So that wasn't normal. Normally, there was 40K on a separate day in a separate venue from the fantasy.
Correct. We would have the fantasy event in June and the 40K event in August.
Okay.
But instead, we decided to go ahead and combine the events to combine the club and, bring both the 40K and fantasy groups together, because we're all one big organization of gamers. Why not have us all be under the same house? Also, it's kind of cool walking into an event and seeing 300 players all playing together at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
And so last year we had it at the DoubleTree in Portland. And as it was our first combined event, mistakes were made. We learned that the venue we had was big, but air conditioning was a problem, as well as noise. Having the max line being right next to our event difficult for everybody to hear. So this year, we've moved it across the river to Vancouver, Washington. We're actually having the event on July 16th to July 19th, and it'll be at the Hilton in Vancouver, Washington. And it will be really a 3-day event as opposed to a 4-day event, because last year we had it on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This year we're having it just on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because we didn't have a lot of people coming on Thursday, so we decided to go ahead and have Thursday just be a setup day. And then also we learned that it's easier to have people staying in one centralized location as opposed to have them split out between multiple hotels. So this year's OFCC will be in a larger venue with air conditioning and a lot more room and space and a higher ceiling for everybody to actually operate under. So it should be a lot better and just a better feel altogether.
Cool. That's exciting. So talk a little bit about the format of the 2 fantasy events that are running.
Sure. So last year was the first time we'd actually really had an open competitive event at OFCC. And we had for both 40K and Fantasy. And we had those on Friday as a 1-day event. This year, we decided to go ahead and make another change. I know people are like, what's up with all the change? But we decided to go ahead and have another change to the event where we have the opens run simultaneously with the team event. So now we have two-day events going on at the same time for each system. And those are the opens. So we had the 40K Open and the Fantasy Open running at the same time on Saturday and Sunday as opposed to being on Friday.
So last time people were able to compete
in
both the Open and the team tournament, whereas this time they had to kind of choose.
Yeah, well, it was 3 games on the Friday in the Open, followed by 3 games on the Saturday and 2 games on the Sunday. So it was a lot of Warhammer.
It's a real endurance event.
It was fun though. I had a lot of good.
And some people like that. Other people were like, "Oh God, 10 games of Warhammer in a week is just too much."
Yeah,
and we're going, "How are you playing 10 games? We only offered 8." But so this year, the Open for the 40K is going to be using the ITC rule set, which is the independent tournament circuit run by Frontline Gaming, and the Fantasy Open, which is the event that people are more interested in on this podcast.
We don't talk about 40K
be a
over here.
Qualifier, and we'll be running on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, so it's a 2,500 points, right?
Correct. It'll be a 2,500 point 5-round event, open composition, therefore there are no restrictions. All the event scenarios and the rule sets are available at ortofanaticus.com under the OFCC topic header. There's a section on our forums which has all of our rules. So you'll be able to see it if you go to our website.
Okay.
The the Fantasy Open will have, as I said before, 5 rounds, no restrictions. The Fantasy Team event and the Fantasy Open event will both be using the exact same scenarios.
Okay.
And the reason why I did this is because not all clubs have 4 guys. Some clubs have 5, some have 6, and not all clubs can bring a team to the event. So I want to be able to have all 6 members of a club attend the event, where 4 are playing on the team and 2 are playing in the Open, and that way they can all play the same scenarios and have that that talk at lunch, like, man, how'd you do in round 2?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, that way you have that camaraderie going on and that sense of symmetry between the 2 events.
Yeah, good idea.
So hopefully everybody will appreciate the Open. It's as I said before, it's a no composition. So if it's available, you can use it. Insofar as the end time comp, the Open composition for the Open will not allow Unbound and will not allow the that's pretty much the only restriction. So everything else is a go. They can use the Ever Chosen list, the whole shebang.
Okay, so it's
So
full on
bring
bring your toys. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the nice thing about it is that a lot of the I guess if I look at the top 20 in the region rankings at the moment, a good portion of those folks are going to be playing in the team challenge rather than in the open. So I think it's a great opportunity for people to, just bring whatever army list they've got, whatever they've got painted, whatever toys they want to put on the table, and have a fun tournament with it.
I hope so. And it's kind of funny because last year we had 22 people, I believe, in the open on the Friday one-day event.
Yep.
And of those 22 returning to OFC, we have, I believe, 16.
That's pretty good.
Of those 16, all of them are playing on the team event.
Huh. That's funny.
And so that kind of communicates the love of the team event that we have for this event.
Yeah, for sure.
But we're hoping that the Open still has enough players because we want to have a competitive event. We want to show that no composition doesn't mean that you're going to be a D-bag. It means that you can play a game, bring all your toys, and still have fun.
What if you want to be a D-bag?
I mean, we do have Tom in the room, so keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Well, you can be a D-bag, just don't be one at the table.
Oh, okay.
Keep that stuff for the bar.
Mm-hmm.
So, with the open described, I'll go ahead and go right over to the premier event for the event, which are the fantasy team and 40K team. So the fantasy and 40K team have been very popular year after year. 9th edition has done a little bit of a whammy on the fantasy group this year. There's a lot of trepidation and that entire idea of not knowing what's coming, which I think has given a lot of people hobby burnout.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
But we still have, about 16 teams registered for the event, which is what we want. And the team event this year is a little bit of a departure from the way we've historically done it. We're still doing four players to a team, and we're still using the same scenarios as the open event. But this year, there's no restrictions. We're allowing end times, and we're using Swedish comp. Now you ask, how can you use Swedish comp and end times? Because end time Swedish system.
Yep.
Well, what I've done is I've made a Swedish addendum based on tournament, casual gameplay, and regional feedback. You guys your podcast and your members of your podcast were very instrumental in helping me get a good feel of how to create a composition system that mirrors a Swedish system for the end times group. So I thank you for that. You all did a great job.
Yeah, we just made up some numbers, pulled them out of the air.
That's what you do. Isn't that what you do for a living, Tom?
That is what I do for a living, yeah.
We just make stuff up. It's good.
Numbers.
But hopefully with using the Swedish addendum and the Swedish composition system, you can use the Swedish system to create a team rating of no less than 50. And the bands for Swedish that we're using for each individual player is going to be from 8 to 20. So you'll have that very large range band of both friendly lists as well as competitive lists without breaking to the hard level.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So 4 guys, you can have 2 guys, with like 2 10s, and as long as the other guys in the team combined equal 30, then you have, a reasonably good team to hit the threshold for the event. Yeah, I'm sorry, I thought you were asking me a question.
No, I was going to say that I think the 50 comp makes things very interesting because if you have even just 1 8 on your team, then your other 3 lists have to combine to a 42, which automatically puts them all
14s.
Yeah, or thereabout. If you, on an average.
Mm-hmm.
And so, are the Swedish scores going to be used for anything else, or is it purely for the army composition?
No, I'm glad you asked that. That's a great question. So, the way it's going to work out is...
He's so smooth.
Like, thank you.
So smooth. Oh, well, I'm very glad you asked. He's like a politician. What a great question.
It's almost like he works for the government.
Let me not answer it.
Well, I am a bureaucrat. No, so the way we're using the Swedish comp system is this. So your team rating will have like say your team has a 75 rating, and the team that you're playing has a 65 rating. So there's automatically going to be, we're going to pair up the teams that win every round. So the ones that have the highest Swedish score will play the teams that have the other highest Swedish score. And then once you do matchups on the captain's level, the captains will receive their 4 lists, and the other captain will have their 4 lists. So let's say that on your team, Aiden, you've got, an 8, an 8, a 20, and a 20. That would be really hard, but let's say we use it for
actually
example.
Pretty likely.
Meanwhile, 15-15. So you'd probably end up matching the two 8s with the 2 12s and the 2 15s with the 2 20s. And what would happen is, just like normal Swedish comp, we do 1 or 2 range bands removed, and then they get 100 victory points credit, we'll say, in between there up to 500 VPs.
Okay.
And I capped it at 500.
So it's an active comp with a cap of 500. Okay, so that makes sense. Huh. So yeah, that's gonna really mess with things when you consider that it's such a big spread, right? It's a 12-point possible spread in the team lists, and then so we've got that, but now it's not a 20-0 system that you're using for scoring, right?
No, the Open will be using the 20-0 system. The team event will be using a 10, 7, 5, and 2, where 10's a win, 7's a tie, 5's a minor loss, and 2's a major loss.
Okay.
Because the way that we're doing the grading system for the team event is different than the Open. The Open is going to be using a 40% battle points, 30% paint, 30% sports. That way, because all OFCC and Ordo Fanaticus, I should say, events really emphasize painting and sportsmanship more so than painting, or more so than battle. So for the team event, we're doing a strict 30-30-30 on 30% painting, 30% sports, 30% battle, and then the remaining 10% will be for achievements.
Achievements. That's those are like special things that you have to try and do over the course of the tournament,
like playing the whole
Correct.
game in the buff, etc.
Yeah.
Is there a shirtless achievement?
No, I was told I can't do that one.
Call it the Gut Star.
The Gut Star, yeah. Come on, if we all bring ogre armies.
If your whole team plays with your bellies out, then that's the Gut Star.
No, but the way we were doing the scoring is both the 40K team and the fantasy team are de-emphasizing battle points and emphasizing achievements, painting, sportsmanship, to be all equitable across the entire event.
Yeah,
Right.
I
That
like
way,
that.
in case you have a team that comes in and just smashes face for 5 rounds, yeah, good job. You beat up on a bunch of hobbyists. We're happy. We're proud of you. But if you come in and you smash face and your armies look amazing and you guys are amazing players, well, now you're talking our game.
Yeah, we kind of did that last year and came second in our first tournament because we're all that. Well, actually, we relied on the fact that Ricky painted most of the armies.
At least 50% of the models there.
Yeah.
And probably more.
Probably more.
And
he's painting right now.
And then
actually,
we relied on my awesome sportsmanship.
That's right. And I drove us there. That's about my only achievement.
Yeah, you were kind of the dead weight. We missed first because of you.
And one thing that's new this year for fantasy is we're actually doing achievements for the team event, and achievements will affect the entire team score. So we have things like Tales of Heroism, where one of the achievements is the Harvester of Sorrow, which means that if every player on the team loses their game in the same event round, they get 1 achievement point. Versus, like the Eternal Champions, where if every player on the team wins their game in the event round, they'll get a point. There's one that I like, which I doubt we'll see much of, but if we do, it'll be kind of cool. That's the Against All Odds achievement, where you have a team with a combined Swedish comp score of 72 or higher that earns the Eternal Champions achievement, which means that they all win their game against a team that has a combined Swedish comp score lower by at least 10. So if you have a team with a 75 rating and they all beat a team with a 65 rating and all four of them win their game, then they get 10 achievement points for the event. So you'll have a bunch of David and Goliath going on.
Nice.
We also have things like artistic achievements, where we have like the Tale of Four Painters, where you have the team has all their armies displayed in a cohesive theme display board. So instead of having everybody bring their display board and have their own, this is my army, this is my army, the teams come as one big display, and their entire army's display is one cohesive image. Yep. That's worth like 3 achievement points out of 10.
We were planning on that this year. We were planning on it, and then Ricky had to go and have a relative get married.
It's not a relative, but a very close friend. Yeah, I'm very, very disappointed in her.
For not asking you if you were going to a tournament that weekend. I mean, does she even know you at all?
Nope. Nope.
Well, I also haven't paid anything in about 2 months.
The nerve of some people, Jeez.
I know, right?
There is one achievement that I'm really excited about this year. I'm hoping that I also threw the gauntlet down to the 40K side, and that is for the honor of clan achievements. There's one called Rally to the Standard, and that is where every team will bring their own battle standard, like actual flag, to the event, displaying their club heraldry, and I'll have them parade that down the center of the aisle on Saturday.
Ooh, that's pretty cool.
So it'll be pretty cool seeing a bunch of nerds carrying a bunch of flags down a hallway.
I expect to see Matt Beasley's pants.
What the hell's going on?
There's some kind of... We'll cut that.
Matt Beasley's pants were the topic of much debate in the last podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed all of that.
That's because you don't listen to the podcast.
Why would I listen to the podcast? It's a bunch of nerds talking about Warhammer.
Okay.
Oh, that was good. Poor Matt.
Yeah.
Poor Matt. I remember sitting in chat watching you guys talk when the entire Matt pants thing debacle went down.
Yeah. Yeah. You should make sure his pants go missing.
Laughing very hard
on a regular basis.
You stole his pants during the podcast?
No, Riley stole his pants at the last tournament. And forgot that he stole his pants and was trolling him that he had stolen his pants, even though he truly believed that he had not stolen his pants, but he
actually had.
Yes.
There was some drinking involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a little bit.
Here's the beauty. So it wasn't just like, normal internet trolling where you make a post and then you wait for a little bit and you make another post. This was real-time trolling. When Matt would post something in chat, Riley would instantly post something else, whether it was a GIF or this random JPEG of some guy going, "Hey, loser." I mean, it was hilarious because it went on for like half an hour.
Yeah.
Where Riley would be like, "What are you talking about?" And Matt would be like, "Where are my pants, dude?" Hey guys, let's all get along, guys. It's not funny anymore, guys. It was hilarious. I died.
Yeah. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so meanwhile, back at the OFCC.
This is how you guys in the private sector spend your day, hey?
Oh, he's public sector right there.
Okay.
But anyway, so after 5 games, we will then be able to just determine who the winner is by looking at the battle points, the painting points, the sportsmanship points, and the achievement points for all the teams, and then we'll have the event champions fight and the fantasy side.
I thought winners don't matter at OFCC. Isn't that the whole gig?
Oh no, winning matters. It's just winning well.
So John,
winning in the right way,
winning with style.
Is there going to be an OFCC grand champion team between 40K and fantasy? So the one that got the most points out of both of them.
Whoa.
I like who your head is. Unfortunately, this year, no.
That's too bad. It's probably not compatible scoring system, is it?
Actually, this year, so the way that we have been doing the events historically is that we have elections in our Senate. As you know, Ordo Fanaticus is a volunteer community. and we have a Senate that kind of runs the event and the community as a whole. So we will vote and elect a campaign czar who will be the one who will then elect hogs for each event. A hog is the head of gaming, so that person determines the composition, the rule set, and everything for the event for OFCC. So last year we had Joel and Anson working on the fantasy and 40K side. This year I'm doing the fantasy hog for both the open and the team event, and Joel's doing the open and the team event for 40K. So I'm hoping that moving forward we can have a consistent method of having the same rule set year after year after year, so we can then move to a universal rule set moving forward. So fantasy and 40K have the exact same scoring.
Yeah,
because that way we can then do a real true team challenge between the two events.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be pretty, especially if both sides of the teams brought demons, and you could have like a combined 8-person display board. I mean, how cool would that be?
That would be pretty good.
Anyway.
But you could have the top
that would be
40K team and the top fantasy team getting into a drink-off with each other to become the overall champions.
Oh,
wow.
man.
If you believe half of the ninth rumors, they'll be able to fight against each other.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Anyway.
Or a good old-fashioned game of P-Spot.
Oh, dear.
Why not?
Okay, cool. So remind us again of the dates for the OFCC.
Absolutely. OFCC this year will be on July 16th to July 19th. The Friday events will be one-day events where we will have X-Wing, a Blood Bowl event, a 40K Fantasy, and a 40K Doubles event. We will also have an Infinity event. These will all be 3 to 4 round events, as well as a Malifaux event. These will all be 3 to 4 rounds, and all consisting of Friday. And by the time this podcast airs, I'll have all of the single-day events as well as the team events all put into one section of our website, so you can easily access them and figure out what you want to do.
Cool.
And I must apologize to our Malifaux group as well, because we actually have a 2-day Malifaux event going on during the team event as well, which will be the Malifaux Masters.
Oh, cool. All right, so there's a lot of wargaming the whole weekend.
Oh, absolutely. Our goal is to get as many butts and seats and playing games as possible.
Oh, it's kind of reeking.
Well, no, the air conditioning is going to be much better this time, right? Last time it was a huge event, one big hall, 300 sweaty gamers on a hot summer weekend I was just glad that most of the fantasy stuff was by the windows, let's just say that.
But being by the windows was really funny too, because random people would just walk past and be like, what the hell is going on in there?
That's right.
Just staring at you through the window.
Yeah, there's some weird people coming in those doors too.
Yeah.
It's Portland, man.
Yeah, This year we won't have the meth heads or the prostitutes or the random old people walking and going, oh, what are these?
I don't know. It looked like the 40K players were pretty fond of the prostitutes last time.
Typical 40Kers.
Oh, burn. Okay, so...
Portland is like a hive city.
But once again, I really appreciate you guys having me on the podcast to talk about OFCC.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for taking the time out to come join us.
No worries. Insofar as the cost for the weekend, our Friday events will be $25 for a ticket, and then the Saturday and Sunday events, the 2-day events, will be $75 for a ticket. If you have anybody who's coming, they'll also want to contact the Hilton OFC code to book a room under our block of rooms for the discount. Because I believe we got down to $119 a night.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Which is a huge savings.
At a Hilton, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Is
Think
there
about all those high thread count sheets.
And I'm hopeful this year. I mean, I know 9th edition, like I said, has created a little bit of hobby trepidation for the community as a whole. But I'm hopeful that the rumors that will surface will prove to be true, and we'll have a rebound in the fantasy community. Because at the advent of 8th edition, the OFCC for fantasy had very low attendance. because we had a lot of people who were, like, oh man, the hobby's ruined. 8th edition sucks, and that had a negative effect on our attendance. So I'm hoping that won't happen for this year's event, and we can snap back and have a bunch of players come back and break 100 players again.
What if Ninth drops before the tournament? If it's dropped like a month before the tournament already, which it could do.
Well, I think it's going to be 8th no matter what. It's already been confirmed. That question has been asked multiple times.
OFCC will be using 8th edition rules.
Right.
So as such a good politician, why don't you do one last final hard sell? Like, if I could go to only one tournament all year, why would it be OFCC?
Well, I'll tell you why you should only do OFCC as your one event a year. You can go play in a tournament anywhere. You can go down to, you can go to British Columbia. You can go to Las Vegas. You can go to LA. You can play in a tournament. You can play 5 games and, go, man, I really kicked a lot of butt. But at OFCC, you have these things working for you. You've got a high level of hobbyist. I mean, we bring a serious amount of talent to our show. We have painters who work all year on their armies, and Ricky's a phenomenal painter. Can you imagine having an entire group full of Rickies that you got to compete against in painting? Sportsmanship,
Sounds awful.
top notch. We do our best to have the best sportsmanship in the Pacific Northwest, because we really want to emphasize fair play and a good time playing the game. We have some of the best generals. We take the Canadians, the Seattle group, the Portland group, and you combine those all into one big mixing pot. You're going to have some of the best generals in the Pacific Northwest playing against each other. Also, we have the highest concentration of shirtless Canadian wrestling anywhere in the United States.
Sold. No, I gotta say, from my experiences last year, all of those things were pretty true, and it was a really great weekend.
I can summarize how great a weekend it was by describing the game between Peter Davis and John Kersey, who has joined us. So this was game 3 on the Saturday. I'm not sure. Peter was playing, I believe, Lizardman.
Me.
And John was playing. John was playing as Wood Elves, and they got paired up against each other by their captains. And they said, "How about we have a 10-10 and keep drinking instead?" And that was how the game was run.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Not bad, not bad.
Well, not only that, but they went back to the hotel room to drink. So they said they were drinking, but I'm not sure about that.
It could have been shirtless wrestling for all we know. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, John, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Cheers, brah.
We will let you get back to your hipsters and their crazies down in Portland.
Voodoo donuts and whatever else you do down there.
Are you going to swing by Rose City Wrath at all this weekend?
I will do my best to make an appearance at Rose City Wrath. It'll all depend on when my parents have free time for me to do that.
Yep, you got to drop the kiddos.
Yeah.
No worries. All right, man. Well, have a good one.
Well, thank you again for having me on the cast. And once again, if you are interested in participating in OFCC, please go to www.ordofanaticus.com. And you'll find all the event information under our OFCC header. Once again, thank you for having me on the show.
All right, John. Thanks, man.
What a gentleman.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
John Kersey there, everybody. John Kersey.
Now we need you to sing a song. Okay, so we got a couple more tournaments to talk about real quick. The first is Sparkle Party Deathmatch 6, which Ricky ran a few weeks back in the middle of April. I have to say, and this is not just because you're my buddy, but that is probably the most fun I've ever had in a tournament.
Oh, thanks. Good.
So we talked a little bit about the Regiment of Renown and the rules for it. Having 30 dudes that don't give up any victory points, that get better, even if they die, coming back in the next game, is just an absolute recipe for hilarity. Yeah. So everybody just wanted to throw their regiment into combat, there was nobody that was that was doing anything. Well, at least in my 5 games, it was all just like, get in there and fight. And
Yeah, use them
and fight in challenges and yeah.
Yeah.
So I ended up, I think, coming 5th overall.
Oh yeah, I could pull it up. I think
I came 5th. Mostly
slipping.
Yeah, I think I had 4 ties and a minor win or something like that. And then made up for a bunch with scenario points and sports and painting.
Let's see here. Yeah, let me find these scores.
Well, while you're looking, I'm going to tell everyone how my Regiment of Renown ended up. So you start off with 29 dudes, just regular human infantry stats, and a hero that has regular human hero stats. And by the end of it, my regiment was strength 4 with 2 attacks. They had armor piercing -2, so that meant that they were actually -3 to armor save because of the strength 4. They were cold-blooded. They had a Leashbone Pennant, always strikes first. They had Awakening of the Woods and Shield of Thorns as a bound spell. They could fight in 3 extra ranks and had throwing weapons. And
so awesome.
I know. And the hero, well, there were strength 4 throwing weapons as well. The hero was strength 5 with 4 attacks. He also had the Sword of Battle, which gave him an extra attack, so that's 5 attacks. Had the Wizarding Hat, so he was level 2 wizard on stupid, and had the armor of silvered steel, so he had the 2-up armor save. And the champion was carrying the Fosric's Folding Fortress, and had the Feather Foe Torque. So, and I caused fear in Beastman, Demons of Chaos, Dwarfs, Empire, Tomb Kings, and Warriors, and I had a hatred of Dark Elves. So that was my regiment by the end of it.
Awesome. Yeah. And that one actually, I think, was fairly middle of the road as far as some of them. I know Alex has just turned into a killing machine.
Yeah. Mine was pretty fighty. Finton's ended up really beefy because he ended up losing a lot of combats with it, and so they ended up being unbreakable by the end of the tournament. I can't read all of his handwriting, but I do know that they were unbreakable, and he had the obsidian blade, I think. Sword of bloodshed. There we go. I'm trying to read his wrinkly handwriting here. And the armor of destiny on his hero. They had a dispel scroll. They had scaly skin. Everybody had a blast. I couldn't wait to see what they rolled on the table after each battle.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty successful.
Yep.
I thought it was fun. I think I would probably change just one scenario's rewards, and that would be the Wood for Sheep one, like the bound. I don't think that getting Awakening the Wood and Shield of Thorns is quite heroic enough. It kind of seemed kind of flat. I don't think people really cast it.
Yep.
So I think I'll probably rework that mission, because if we use it again, which I probably will, because I thought it was so much fun, and I think most people that I talked to afterwards and even at Victory or Death were still saying it was just incredibly fun. So
yeah.
So okay, so I have the results. So very first place was Soul Blair. He was playing his, was it Legion or just Warriors? I think it was a Legion. And he took the lead. He had pretty solid paint, as always. He had a really strong battle scores, and he got 4 favorite opponent votes. So he, there were 2 people with, one person with a perfect score.
Yep.
in
sports,
and that was Aaron Johnson. But then Soul had 4 votes, and so did, who was the other 4? Leland. Yeah, Leland. So So sports actually had a pretty good influence on the overall scores. So Seoul took it with 180 points total. Second place went to Jim from up in Canada. He's Chop or
I think
I can never figure out the clubs up there. I'm not
yeah,
sure. Who's
I'm not
what.
sure if he's Chop or if he's what's the other one? The one that Chris Powell's part of.
Yeah, I don't.
The Hammered Heads.
Hammered Heads.
Hammered
Yeah.
Heads.
I'm not sure which
we
of the
need
two he's
we need
from.
like one of those genealogy trees up
Yeah.
there.
A lookup table of some kind.
Yeah,
you know.
so we can kind of track everybody.
He might be a swinger.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. And then third overall was Riley. And then fourth overall was Shane Mitchell. Fifth overall, Matt Beasley. And you were sixth overall.
I was sixth. Okay.
Yep. With,
Oh, sorry, you're trying to claim claim extra
yeah.
points here.
So down to sixth. But you were actually no, see, you were right. You were actually tied with Matt Beasley at 147 total points. So you and Matt tied for fifth and sixth place.
Okay.
In overall.
Okay.
I can't remember what the tiebreaker on that would have been. I think if overall was a tie, it was battle, but could be wrong. So I'd have to go back to my rubric and look.
Yeah.
So let's see. I can go for best general. I think we had a pretty good knockdown drag out on best generals.
But before you get into that, I'm really glad to see Saul taking home the top trophy.
Yeah.
Because he has painted multiple armies for Sparkle Party, and he has been to, I think, like at least 5 of the 6,
I think
if
so,
not
too.
all
Yeah.
the 6, and has always been in the top, third, and I was just really stoked for him that he got. I think he won the painting contest for the regiment.
Yep.
As well, and so it was just like he took home a bunch of trophies.
Yeah, he swept it
yeah,
this time.
And I'm really glad for him.
And the best part was I don't think he or anybody else expected him. And so those last 2 rounds, he was just hovering right there. And then that last round, he just popped up to the top and was like, "Oh my gosh, way to go, Saul! That was really cool to see."
Nice.
So for best general, Shane Mitchell. He was playing his Dark Elves. He was playing mono book Dark Elves, and he brought it to this completely open comp event and just smash face with mono book Dark Elves.
Yeah, so best general, when people were playing with Grand Legion of the Everchosen and whatever else, he just had mono Dark Elves. So,
I mean, that's still pretty good.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Yeah. Turns out that's still good enough.
Yep, that's all you need. Second best general was Matt Beasley, and third was Riley. There was Jim and Alex tied for fourth and fifth, and Sol was down there at sixth, which is what helped translated to his overall. Paint, I believe, went to Amanda this time.
Yep.
Amanda showed up with a brand new dwarf army that she had lighting effects in the display board.
It was beautiful.
It was absolutely beautiful. I actually got to play with it one game because she had to go to work, so I got to fill in for her, and it was really fun to play with a fully painted dwarf army.
It was the dwarves of Asgard, and she had like a rainbow bridge and that they could stand on. It was all kind of Asgardian themed.
And it was
sparkly.
army.
Yeah. It was just fantastic.
Yeah, it was really beautiful.
She got my vote for best painted.
Yeah. So so she took best painted, even though, like, I don't know, the way she had the exact same number of points as Jim, but the tiebreaker for it, I think
it was player's choice votes.
I think it is player's choice. Yeah. And then Sol. So it was Amanda, then Jim, then Sol for best painted, and we already covered favorite opponents. And yeah, we don't need to talk about Dimensional Cascades because it was like a 3-way tie or something like that. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty successful event.
Yep.
I really liked the Regiments of Renown. I like the way the scenarios work. I feel like they reward you for doing them if you feel like it, but you don't lose the tournament if you ignore them.
Yeah.
Which I kind of prefer because so often when scenarios become too powerful, they often favor armies that are more mobile. And so some armies like mine, for example, really suffer, or like Amanda's would have really suffered. But
Well,
yeah.
the thing I really liked is that you know, usually 2 or 3 of the 5 scenario points, you had to use your regiment of renown to get them,
Yeah.
and so that meant everybody was on equal footing, right?
Yep.
You know,
Yeah,
so,
because everybody has a regiment.
yeah, and they all start with the same stats,
Yeah.
right? So, and they all cost the same, big 0.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. I actually liked it better than the Sparkle Giant. I think the Sparkle Giant was really close in feel, but I still think that these guys were just more fun in general.
I
to
think
watch.
so too.
I loved going around at the end of every game and just like hearing what people were getting. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, it's got this. I can't wait for my next game."
Yep.
So, pretty cool stuff. All right, so let's talk about Victory or Death.
Yeah, Victory or Death. So this is Dale Johnson's tournament. He's the Chumphammer co-host up there in North Vancouver. So the first time it was run was last year, and we went up there, the Dimensional Cascade team. I think there was 4 of us, you and me, Ricky, plus Anthony and Ryan last year.
Yeah, I thought there were. Well, yeah, I guess it was the 4 of us with Tiffany in the car, right?
So yeah,
was it
4
the 5
plus
of us?
Tiffany. Yeah. And I think we brought home a bunch of prizes last year, and
Oh
then,
yeah.
and so this year we went up, you and me and Ryan and Matt Beasley this time. Bruce, who's kind of a new local player that's joined us from Scotland, and the 5 of us went up, and Ryan came first.
Yeah.
So yet again, the big sword that you win for winning Victory or Death
Came home to the States.
Came home to the States.
Yeah.
So the funny part about this is that Dale sends them to my house. He mail orders them to me because it's ridiculous to get them shipped to Canada.
Where do they come from?
Like just
China?
No, probably, but there's a bunch of like sword and armor places that sell all this stuff in the States. And so he sends them to me, and then I bring them up with me, or we exchange them at a tournament at some point. And so it's like the swords just want to keep coming back to America.
Yeah, they do.
So yeah, do you have the results there? in front
Yeah,
of you?
well, yeah, I don't have the actual results, but he has it posted on the website here, so we can go through it. So, yes, now it's worth noting that Victory or Death was pretty much exactly the Masters pack from this last year.
Yep.
I think he changed the venue address and added a half hour to the lunch break. Other than that, the pack was exactly the same, which wasn't bad. It was fun.
6 games of Warhammer.
6 games is hard when you're playing 4 games that first day, even when you're in the same time zone. By that 4th game, you're just tired. So because it was the Masters pack, there really wasn't an overall winner. There was best general was the best general. And
yeah, that's all the rankings are based off of best general.
Yeah.
Because there was very little in terms of paint and sports scores to affect the score.
Yeah, there wasn't. He didn't use the Masters sports system.
Yep.
So I guess that was removed. And there wasn't paint because I think Masters used the 3-judge system.
Yep.
And there were no points awarded for that.
Yeah.
So there was no version of the Paragon.
So he
award
didn't
handed
have.
out?
He did have a Paragon, just first place person.
Okay.
Okay. So let's start. So when we say the person who won it is Ryan, he was the best general.
Yep.
What most people would call the best general was the winner of this tournament, though, because it's not truly a hard boys, because it's hard to say that. You can't say that Victory or Death doesn't have hobbyists, because I think it's got some of the best hobbyists in the nation right now. So, well, both nations probably. All right. So, anyways, Ryan Munsell, he was first, with Matt Beasley in second. And Chris Powell took third. That was a big upset. I think Chris was undefeated with like 20 O's.
Yeah. he was sitting on
all the way up to the last round, and then Ryan just punched him in the
Oh, yeah,
in the nuts
Ryan
and
crushed
took him
him?
down.
sucker punched him on
Nice.
table
Yep.
one. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think Ryan was a good. Yeah, I think he was only three points behind Chris, maybe 4 4 points behind. I'm not sure. Oh no, so it was game 4. Chris played Beasley and got like a 12-8 against Beasley.
All right.
And so that brought him in range for Ryan, because Ryan's first game he had a like an 11-9 or something, and then had three 20s after that. So then they played game 1 or table 1, game 5, and Ryan's playing Lizard Man, and Chris was playing Chaos Dwarfs with a level 4 on a flying carpet with the Lore of Death. And so Ryan is and with he's got 2 Death Shriekers, and
He had the 2 blocks of bowls with 2 hero bowls.
the
The
Tauruks.
He had the 1 block of dwarves, the 2 Death Shriekers, the Carpetbagger, no Kadai this time,
No.
and a Khan.
Hell cannon. Did he have a Hell Cannon?
No, just a Khan.
Just 2 Death Shriekers?
Yeah, the 2 Death Shriekers, which was the perfect combo for me because he had Doom and Darkness and the Death Shriekers. So.
And did he have another level 1 on fire?
Yeah, 1 level 1 on fire with a scroll. I think it did have a scroll. So he actually unman-hammered and took a scroll this time.
Yep. And
Still no BSB though.
but yeah, basically from how Ryan was describing it all to me, there were a series of Ryan made a series of charges, and Chris made a bunch of fleas, based on not being able to handle the Old Bloods and whatever else. He was basically waiting to wear him down with shooting before getting into combat. And they both went through and, said, okay, well, we measure everything out, and they all thought it was all going to be fine. And both of them missed that Ryan had an extra unit until after, Chris had fled with both of his units, and they were like, oh, hang on, there's an extra unit in there, and it was still in the declaration of charges phase, and Ryan went, okay, well, they're just going to charge that fleeing unit, and that was that unit off the board. And it all just kind of crumbled from there. So yeah, it was kind of and I think there were some crazy dice as well. To end up on table 1 for the 20-0 is never going to just be, one bad decision. But from what Ryan was telling me, Chris did not push forward with his Carpetbagger and try and cast Purple Sun or anything like that. He kind of kept him back and kept him protected.
Well, with all that, presumably there's a lot of skink poison on the
he
table
likes to
and some
keep
kill
them-
and blow stuff.
He likes to
and-
keep them near the two up look up outsurf.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There was Riperdactyls on there, and definitely a lot of poison.
Yeah, that's pretty scary those Chaos Dwarf wizards come in at 400 plus points, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair enough.
But all right, so then let's see. Best painted was really great to see this. Ryan McKinnon, and I think he's an Islander, right?
I'm not sure because there's a bunch of Ryans, and I actually get them confused on paper.
Okay, I'm not sure, but
I think you're right.
I think he is one of the Islanders, so one of the people from
Vancouver
Island. He showed up with, and yeah, let's see. I don't think the picture's going to do it justice, Tom, but he showed up with just an amazingly well painted Warriors of Chaos army, and I don't think people were really giving it credit. I know I had to kind of tell everybody on our team to go actually look at it because nobody had actually seen it. Mm-hmm. They just walked right past it. But the paint is incredible. The technique is really good. It's super clean, really good color, good contrast, good, just all kinds of stuff. But he just has it on that flat display board. So people so people were just walking right past it. Because I had my big cave there, and Pat's been doing a bunch of cool work on his board, and they were just walking right past this. But I love the way that that Dale did the paint scoring, where everybody did their nominations, and then the finalists were put out again on day one. Everybody did their nominations. Then the finalists were put out again on day two for everybody to go back and vote again, and that final vote. And that's where Ryan, I think, finally stood up, because he was put out there right next to ours, and people were able to go like, "Oh my gosh, that's incredible!" So he had my vote for sure. I'm pretty sure most of our team voted for him.
Yep, that's the first time I haven't voted for Ricky in like over a year. And no, I literally I went and I did like I actually had to do a deep comparison kind of thing and look at it and go, you know, there is nothing like, if you look at Ricky's painting technique and Ryan's painting technique, there is no clear leader between the two. They were both extremely good, and you know, that's where most of the time they fall down, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna, you know, give it to Ricky then, because but these conversions were fantastic. The army looked really great together. The paintwork was phenomenal. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, this is short of the display board. This is the equal of your Night Goblins. Yeah. And it's new, and it's very impressive.
New kid on the block.
And I had no guilt in voting for Ryan.
I wanted him to have it. If I had gotten it, I would have given it to him, because there's like, it was worth it. That guy earned it. He really, really great paint. The only, like, if he does a display board that it doesn't even need to be super involved display board, but one that just at least gives it a backdrop and some vertical so that people come to look. Yep. Because usually when the display board has a backdrop, people have to walk around and look at it. Yeah. And that gets their eyes on it.
Display board techniques 101.
Yeah, it's gonna draw people in, and then he's just gonna clean house. He'll be cleaning house for the next year.
Cool.
Which I'd love to see. Yeah. So second place was Pat.
And I have to say that I really liked Pat. I played against Pat in this, and I saw a couple of things that I hadn't seen before in his army. Yeah. One is he has a beautiful Chaos Dragon with the Sorcerer Lord. And he has the Sorcerer Lord kind of floating around the dragon on a disc, which was really cool. And so whenever the Lord died, he would just take the disc off. And then he has this great conversion of a steam tank.
Yeah, that's his gore beast.
I think I've seen that online.
Yeah, that's like kind of...
it's like splitting in half.
It's splitting in half, and big gribbly tentacles coming out from the middle. And... you know, the really cool thing about, you were talking about some of the best hobbyists. The really cool thing about playing against Pat's army, you know, he also has what do you call it? The altar thing,
altar?
War Shrine.
The War Shrine, that's the one. Yeah. He has that, it's got like a big stone horn head on the front. He's done a conversion for that. You play against any of his units, and they're all like super impressive, and they stick out a mile and all the rest of it. But all the fronts of them are magnetized. So as soon as he gets into base contact, like the head just pops off or the tentacles just pop off, so that he can line them all up nicely. And so he's thinking about his conversions as a gamer. Right. And like, you know, my hat is off to him. Yeah. So... yeah, Ricky, you're letting the side down. You came in third this time around. Well, what's with that?
No,
man?
But that's and here's why. Because Pat has been doing work. I have not.
Yeah.
So and he just,
people reward new stuff for sure.
And that's the way it should be. You know, people who are actively painting. I haven't really like this Hopper boss I'm working on right now. He's kind of the first time I've picked up a Night Goblin since
you did the Carpetbagger, or about 6
no, since I did a few models for Masters. So so that was 4 or 5 months ago now. Yep. So this is kind of I mean, Pat's been doing work on his display board. He's been adding more models. He definitely deserves the second place. I mean, he probably deserves the first, but if it wasn't Ryan's army there. Yep. So I took third. I would have been happy to have that go to Jim too. Like I bet me and Jim were probably neck and neck.
Yeah, it was a really high standard.
Yeah, so
I was impressed.
Let's see. Then we had Let's see. We had best painted judges vote. So James Downey, he won that, but it was commission painted by Jen. Jen was actually there. He was nice enough to give her the trophy, so that was nice. Best sports was Goldstein. What's his first name? Ben? Ryan Goldstein.
Yeah.
Okay.
Goldstein's not even his real name. That's his nickname, but I think that's how he's known.
And then he's just flipping us off. That's really nice. There was a cake contest. Best cake went to Clark. He did the purple sun. It was a lemon cake, right? Wasn't it a lemon cake?
I think so.
Purple sun.
Done like a purple sun.
And then best overall went to Little Pat.
Yeah.
So there was the one. He had one nice big Spartan helmet.
Yeah.
And so on Little Pat, it looked very chibi-ish. So anyways.
Yeah, so 2 great tournaments in a month, and that's me kind of done until OFCC.
Yeah.
This is like
amateur.
Yeah.
Amateur. But yeah, it was a great tournament. I think I always love playing with the Canadians out there.
Yeah.
Good group of people.
Yep.
Dale runs a tight event that is very it does really cater to the people who want to play hard, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels very personable and nice and friendly, and
so he sold out this year. In that all of his tickets were sold out.
Oh, I was like,
He sold out.
Sold out. Yeah, he had the whole place plastered with advertisements. Yeah.
Yeah, we had some no shows day 2 because of copious amounts of drinking from the pub quiz.
Yeah. Jordan ended up with stitches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
woke up in some random parking lot.
covered in blood.
Yeah.
Half of the course. Yeah. Half of the course.
But I think next year he's planning on moving to a different venue.
Oh, a bigger one. Huh?
Bigger venue, and he's aiming to have 80 people at it. So
I think he could fill that.
I think so, because it's the only event that's run in BC that is only fantasy.
Yeah.
Every other event runs, 40K and Malifaux and other things at the same time.
Yeah.
And so whoever the crossover players are, they have to make a choice. Whereas, 5 organized games or 6 organized games of Warhammer.
I would always drive up for whatever he runs.
Yeah, for sure. So he was going to come on the show to talk about it, but he didn't realize we were podcasting tonight, and he'd already made plans.
Yeah,
so
what a jerk.
Plans.
Yeah,
Who has
plans.
those?
Wives, that sort of thing. Anyway. All right, cool. So that's our tournament zone. We will wrap that up and go to the pit. Yeah, I can't wait. Pit. The pit. The pit. As the last line of defense between an assassin's blade and the mage priest he is charged with defending, Chakax's skills as a bodyguard are commensurate with his age. Not a single slan under his protection has died to an enemy blow, and he has become expert at discerning the most covert of threats and then flattening them with a mighty 2-handed swing.
Yeah.
Chakax is cool. So I love the fluff for Chakax, and unfortunately, like so many special characters, he is underused, and I think it's just a combination of his lack of save.
Yeah, he's fairly expensive too, and then he's only 2 wounds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if he was 3 wounds, I think a lot of people would take him.
Yeah. So
I know I would.
Yeah. So he has the same profile as a Scar veteran, pretty much. I think looks like it. And the same rules, and he also has the Guardian special rule, which is what the Temple Guard have. He has 2 other special rules: Eternity Warden, so he has to always issue a challenge, but he gets to re-roll failed rolls to hit, so that's pretty good. And the other special rule, Ultimate Bodyguard, is only useful against whenever there's a slan in the room, so we ignore that one. The Starstone Mace is a great weapon that can destroy magic items. So I don't think that's any use against Draika. I don't think she has any. And he has the Helm of the Prime Guardian, which is magic armor. So that turns his 5-up into a 4-up. And anything that's hidden has to be revealed. So like assassins, night goblin, fanatics, etc. But again, that doesn't.
So he just has a 4-up for these purposes.
4-up, and he also has a 5-up ward save
Okay.
from the key to the Eternity Chamber. So that's that thing that dangles around his neck. But that's only when he's fighting in a challenge. So, and his opponent gains the always strikes last special rule. So, she's going to be going simultaneously with him. Okay, so that's Check X. I'm always reminded of Chaka Khan, which is like that really bad band from the 80s. I wonder, is he named after them? He might be. Just knowing Games Workshop's naming policy on things.
I think that's the key, that little bit right there.
Oh, the gray thing?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right, Draika, the Briar Maven of Woe.
What the hell is a
Whoa.
Briar Maven?
Whoa. There are no good passages about Draika in here. I was looking for one, and I can't find one. So instead, I'm going to read her Fanatical Resolve special rule in a Draika voice. All right.
Psych yourself up.
Yeah, right.
This is going to be... I don't know if I can quite reach the notes I need to reach to get this one proper. So.
You want me to punch in the nuts?
Do, re, mi, fa. Go on.
Yeah. And doing it without laughing is the hard part.
Fanatical Resolve. Each time Draco suffers an unsaved wound, her attack's characteristic increases by 2.
What
I can't do
even
it.
is that? What-
I'm trying to get really high pitched.
No, keep going. Keep going. This is it.
If this is a winner, just do it. Oh, yeah, you're on to a winner here.
Shut up, Tom. All right. I can't do it when it's trying to read something serious. It has to be the stupid fluff. This is the problem. Okay. It's a bit too Gollum, really.
It's my precious.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going to go from there, so...
To the pit!
To the pit. Yeah, seems like a good segue.
We need more. We need more content.
I don't know. I'm not drunk enough.
Don't cut any of this, by the way.
Just
is all
leave it all in
gold.
there.
Only
Yeah.
gold.
Top-notch stuff. Okay. You would never know if I cut it or not because you never listen to the podcast.
I will.
Oh, I will this time. Yeah.
When I retire, I'll sit and listen to all of them.
Oh my gosh, there's got to be better ways to spend your retirement than listening to us
There's definitely better ways.
and 30-year-old podcasts.
I remember back in the day, I used to listen to this podcast. Or no, I didn't actually. Okay, let's go to the pit.
Will pods even exist anymore?
Nobody will know what
To
you're
cast
talking
on?
about. You'll
Do
be,
pods even exist now anymore?
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, you can
Really?
still buy pods.
Yep.
You still have a pod? But
Yeah.
most people just have a phone pod instead,
It's true.
right?
They do have a phone pod. All right. Contenders are in the pit. So...
What even are the rules for Draco?
Oh, we should do that.
Didn't actually
Yeah.
do
Yeah, I should read that.
In a very silly voice.
You playing Chakax, bro?
I'm not playing anything. You guys are playing.
No, you're playing Chakax, bro.
Oh, I don't mind which I play because I love both of these guys.
No, then see, you guys are playing.
Okay, so Draika is a
I
level
always
2
die.
wizard who uses the spells from the Lore of Shadow.
Who's gonna win? The dice will tell us who's gonna win. What do you mean? Oh, you're such a jerk.
Yes, Tom only wants to play on the winning side. Okay, so Draika is level 2 Lore of Shadow, but she casts she casts as a level 3 if she's in a forest. The pit is not a forest. She causes fear. She's got hatred. She's got forest spirits, where she gets a 6-up ward save. If she takes a wound, and she's got 3 wounds, if she takes a wound, her attacks go up by 2 for the remainder of the battle for each wound.
She has how many wounds? 3?
3. Yeah. So she starts with 4 attacks. So by the time she's at 1 wound, she's at 8 attacks.
Solid.
But it's only strength 4. And he's tough 5. So roused to wrath isn't going to come into play because that allows her to make tree spirits ambushing.
She's so wrathful.
However, so she is a level 2 wizard. Do you want to be Dryka or you want to be
Sure.
Chakax? You're going to be Dryka. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do Chakax then. Okay, so roll your spells.
Shadow, this is?
Shadow, yep.
Shadow.
I can pull up the spell book,
Lord of Shadow.
I think.
All right.
I got
You
the
got Pit and
Mind
Mind
Razor.
Razor.
Pit and Mind Razor.
Oh my god.
Oh, and you're really low initiative, so yeah, I'll do. What's my leadership?
9, I think.
9ish.
You're gonna try and throw a pit. Really?
Duh.
Leadership 9.
Why did you let him play? Why did you let him go with Draco, man?
That's all right. He likes to be the wizardy, sneaky type. Okay. Chakax's initiative is 3. So it's a 50-50 shot.
Okay, sounds good. I like those odds.
All right.
Oh my god.
So for first turnsies?
Yeah, roll for first turn. You get a 3. I get a 5.
All right, you're up.
I'm going
You're up,
first. I'm going to march forward 8
Okay.
and pass the turn.
So that puts you at 16 inches
16
away.
inches, yeah.
All right, I'm hanging back. I'm going to roll my winds of magic.
Pansy. Oh,
Oh,
10.
I got a 10. I'm just going to 6 dice a pit of shades.
On a 14? Oh boy. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
So I have 10, 14, 16, and I'm level 2, so 18.
18. All right, I got 5 dice to throw at this. And... Oh, I don't think I get it.
Nope.
12. I only get a 16.
Yes. Okay.
Dang.
So,
See if it scatters.
how do we do this with a
So,
D6? Just follow the one.
Well, on a D6, let's...
so roll one die. That's the artillery.
so it's
alright.
going to go 6 inches.
Okay, and then you roll another one, and the 1 is the arrow.
And then, so what is a hit?
A hit would be a 6 or
Okay.
a 1.
A 6 or a 1, yeah. You're
Yeah,
right.
you re-roll
I've forgotten
those.
how to play this
Yep,
game.
yep.
Oh, it's a hit!
Oh, no.
Oh, you're going to die. This
All right,
is gonna be
50-50
so
shot.
glorious.
I passed my initiative test
Oh,
on a 1.
boo! I have to actually fight.
Yep. Well, you know, you've got
I got
another
another 10.
round or
Oh, yeah,
2.
another
Yeah,
10. All right.
Dirty man.
He is a dirty dog. Okay.
All he wants to do is magic every
I
day.
am not going to try and do the 12-inch charge, so I will march forward. Let's see. I'm going to go to... I'm going to march forward 8. You can charge me if you want, bro.
All right, brah.
All right.
All right,
I'm
bro,
8
bro,
inches
bro.
away.
All right, you done?
Yep. You
All
get
right.
one more magic phase, you
No,
pansy.
I'm charging.
You're charging?
I'm charging.
All right. I will hold.
What's my move? 4?
5.
5?
So anything but a
All right,
double
I'm
1.
in.
You're in. Okay. I issue a challenge.
Okay, I accept. Now I'm going to roll some magic.
4 dice.
Oh, 4 dice.
For your mind razor.
4 dice Mind Razor. What do I need for Mind Razor?
18.
Oh, no. That sucks.
Yeah.
All right. Come on.
Oh, you get it too. Look at that.
Yes. That's 17
plus
up
2.
to 19, yeah.
Come on, double 6s. No.
All right,
your
Mind
strength 9.
Razor for the win.
Ugh.
So I have 4 attacks.
You have 4 attacks. We're going Simo.
Okay. You go first. You
and
roll the dice.
And we both get to re-roll.
We both get to re-roll.
But you're a higher weapon skill than me, so I'm hitting you on 4s.
Sweet. And
I
he
think
only
I-
have 2 wounds. Oh, he's dead. He's dead, man.
Um,
Never been so happy.
Magic is
I've
your
never been
crutch.
so happy.
Magic is your crutch. You just...
I think this might be simultaneous death, though.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
So I've got 4 attacks with Predatory Fighter, as well as
all right,
as
yeah,
well
that's
as
pretty
Oh,
good.
rerolls.
yeah, I forgot about Predatory Fighter. That's nice. That's nice.
So I hit with 1, miss with 3, so I'm going to re-roll those from my special roll. And I get 1 Predatory Fighter, 1 miss, 1 hit. So that's re-roll. Oh, I keep that as a hit. So that's 3 hits so far. And the Predatory Fighter,
Nope.
that's a miss. But
No death.
Yes. So 2s to wound. All right.
Oh, my God. gosh.
I've got 2 hits.
Three
no,
hits.
I got 3 hits.
All right,
This is
reroll that
And
2 from your
reroll
hatred.
2.
No! Double ones.
Double ones. And it's
Simon.
All right. Well, that was fun.
That was epic.
Yeah.
That was good stuff.
I need to get back to doing that more often.
So unfortunately, we had a tiny glitch in recording the pit, and you can kind of catch the end of it there, but Dreka also managed to do 2 wounds to Chakax, and they ended up killing each other simultaneously as predicted. So I'm sorry to have to interject with that, and now we'll get back to the rest of the show.
News and rumors.
There is no news. Yeah, I know. Okay, this is our downtown funk, and then there's no uptown funk, unfortunately, for this. This is all down. So I went through like a period of about a month, maybe longer, of being like super down about the hobby.
It's weird because I was on like I was loving the end times.
Yep.
Like I was not one of the naysayers at all. I was like, oh yeah, this is way fun. But then as soon as it finished, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
now what do we have?
Yeah. Archaon.
The way they ended it just
Yeah.
kind of smashed everybody's hobby world and left us going like, well, okay, but give us something more. And
yeah,
then they
something
haven't.
to hold on to.
And they
I
haven't.
would have been totally cool with ending it that way if something new had popped up straight away and they're like, that's over. And
Yeah.
then here's what's happening now.
Yeah.
But instead it's like, well, now you just have like 3 months of limbo or longer even where
Yeah.
you know,
We don't know what's
I have
coming.
no idea.
Yep.
So I think it was a bad move on GW's part, but maybe they know what they're doing. Maybe.
Well, I don't think anyone's ever accused them of that before. There's a couple of interesting side effects to that. Buying miniatures on the secondhand market, prices have dropped considerably.
Yeah, because I think that is a little weird as well. Like some people, are just selling their entire collections without even waiting to see what comes next. I haven't gone that far, at least.
Yeah, and I think even beyond that, it's like people are like, well, I don't know what's happening with this game. Everyone's telling me that things are all going to change. I have this third army that I was going to start, so I'm instead picking up 40K or War Machine or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to sell this third army in order to fund whatever it is.
Right.
So on that note, I've picked up a second army. So I actually bought Jesse's ogres. So he had a whole bunch of ogres that his wife was going to be painting, but they just kind of had sat there. And
I'm buying Anthony's ogres.
So none of these are painted, and most of them aren't even assembled. So it's like starting from scratch. Mm-hmm. So I've got some lead belchers, some Mornfang, some iron guts, some bowls, thunder tusk, and a iron blaster. And picking up another Thunder Tusk stroke Stonehorn from Riley, and that'll be most of the army as soon as I get some characters in there. So pretty excited about that.
So you got over your funk pretty quickly then. If you
it took about a month, I wrote to my friend that works at Games Workshop over in the HQ, and kind of described the funk to him, and his response was, first off, he's bound by NDA, and so
sure.
I couldn't say anything. Mm-hmm. But it was kind of like, yes, it ends, but that doesn't mean that the stories don't still exist and the characters don't still exist. It's not like Games Workshop's going to come and take all your miniatures away or all of the rules and armies. Mm-hmm. And then he kind of said, you're gonna love what's coming.
Okay, but that's kind of my thing. What if I do love what's coming? Then why would I continue doing something different right now?
I think the impression that I got from his email was, they're not going to invalidate anything.
They're not going to invalidate anything, but they're gradually over time going to move towards a new format of things, is my worry. And, you know, whatever they move towards, you know, a lot of people have this idea that their group are going to, like, keep 8th edition alive or whatever, but with games, despite what people's intentions are, what tends to happen is over time, you know, people just converge towards whatever is current and supported.
Sure.
So, you know, my feeling is I just can't justify the, like, money and time investment I put into working on my army when it doesn't seem like a long-term time investment anymore. It's something I'll do for fun rather than to create something that is going to be useful to me over a long period of time.
That's because you play Chaos Dwarfs. No, well, I think that actually might be part of it. You know, I'm not all kidding aside. You know, the Forge World stuff is even more in question because like Warhammer Forge has pretty much they've stopped producing, right? So Tamarkan is out of print,
right?
So we have to assume that either they're going to reboot Chaos Dwarfs. Or they're going to go away as an army.
They'll go away completely. But that's not... Like, I just bought a load of Warriors stuff before all of this happened, and I was working on my Warriors army and loving it, but...
And they're not going to go away.
No.
Right? If you look at it purely from a business perspective, they just released all of these new big kits to support the end time stuff.
Right. The end time stuff will probably not go away.
Right? Half your army is end time stuff?
Yeah. It is, but I want to know what I'm going to be playing before I kind of, you know, put the time in to actually finish up that army. I want to know what game I'm going to be playing, first of all.
So the way that I look at it is, it's very unlikely I'm going to stop playing Warhammer in whatever format it comes out in, right? And so assuming that is true, the game always evolves. Right. If you look across even how 8th edition came out, where it started with, you know, the big infantry blocks and Mindrazor and, you know, all of that. And then the monstrous cavalry came out and that kind of changed everything. And then
Fast Cav happened
and that changed everything. And if you were playing, you know, one army throughout all of that, you had to change what you were playing and how you were playing it. You had to buy different models or, you know, at least on if you were super competitive about it, you would have had to do that. And even to stay reasonably competitive, you would probably have to field things that maybe you hadn't before. And then your new army book came out and now your whole army composition changes. So, you know, I think it's a fallacy to think that the hobby is that predictable and can stay static. It's
true.
It's just we like to feel that it is and does, and that gives us a sense of comfort. And this discomfort is coming from knowing that something monumental has happened and is going to happen in the near future. And I think as soon as it drops, I think the whole hobby mojo for everyone will, you know, for 80% of people, it'll just come right back. And for 20% of the people, it'll be like, okay, that's it, I'm out. So I really hope that's the split.
Maybe part of my worry stems from, you know, I always find it struggle to commit to like an army in the first place and then do all the stuff. So my worry is that maybe they'll come out with something way awesome that I just want to start right then, and then I'll just want to buy that and give up on everything else I was doing.
So what you're saying is you have commitment issues?
I have commitment issues.
Does Liz know?
She understands.
She understands. Okay. What about you, Ricky? How's your hobby mojo level been?
Yeah, I was burned out for a while. I think a lot of that was just going to too many tournaments. So I was a little burned out. Yeah, the negativity in the whole community has kind of killed a lot of it for me. But you know, I'm still chugging along. Like, I'm doing some painting here and there again, which feels good. I need to get back to Tale of Painters and stuff like that. If they haven't already kicked me off, I'm not even sure.
No, you're still the token fantasy guy, so
probably. So yeah, I think for me I I did have some like armies in the hopper, and yeah, like that first few initial batches of rumors would have totally killed those armies. So I was like, well, maybe I should kind of hold off, because the ones that I was thinking of starting were kind of old models to begin with. So, you know, they could have been totally taken out of the universe. And so, yeah, there was that whole combination that just kind of put a funk on me. But I'm getting back into it when I can. I'm getting my painting going again, which feels good. But yeah, it's a weird time. I think if we can all just stay calm.
It is, yeah.
Stay calm and hobby on.
I think one of the big problems for me was this all happened at the same time that I got super busy with work as well.
Yeah,
so
that would happen to me too.
I naturally had to take a break from the hobby, and then talking myself up to getting back into it has been harder given all of the uncertainty.
Yeah.
So if I'd been able to just push through, it might have been different. But
yeah,
I think that's definitely true. Like the three of us haven't even been in the same room for like 2 months or something because of work schedules and what have you. So
been jetting off all around the country.
I think on the micro scale that has affected how we've felt about the hobby, because we don't have, you know, the nerd reinforcement bubble that kind of happens. So yeah, so I guess I had a really great...
You go for your nerd dose online and you just find this like pages of negativity and
vitriol,
rage and bile.
Yeah, I've stopped reading forums altogether. Like all the like news, like Warhammer news sites and forums. I'm just like, I just gotta avoid them for now, because it's just one big like smear of, oh, this is happening or that's happening. And like, even when people post in our chat like, oh, hey, here's the next rumors, I'm like, I don't even want to see that anymore. Because it is just that, it's rumors. I could pull those same things out of my butt and they're probably going to be just as accurate as whatever is in that thing. And so why bother, you know? Let's just all wait until we actually have photos of printed material. You know, those kinds of leaks, I'm interested in seeing, because those are real. None of this like
wish listing.
Yeah. Which is really what most of the stuff I see lately is. Yeah,
for sure. Yep. I'm excited about what's going to come, but more than that, I'm excited about painting ogres. They're a ton of fun to put together, especially because I'm usually putting them together like last thing at night. And they're a lot less fiddly than, you know, elves are. They're a bit more chunky and a little easier for my hand-eye coordination to handle it at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. I also, I did not realize just how big and pointy the nipples are on those ogre models.
It's pretty freaky, isn't it?
It is. I'm like, that's why they have 3 attacks, right? It's like one from the sword and one from each nipple. It's like... They're going to flatten elves with those things?
Yeah, it's pretty perverse. It's like they took the boobs off of the demons and gave them to the ogres.
Or maybe it was the other way around.
Weird.
They used their nipple antennas to send data back to Earth.
Oh, so Seattle Rock Orchestra is going to be doing David Bowie.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
I think Zach might be singing.
Oh, snap. I have to see that.
Yeah.
When is it?
November. I think Tiffany's gonna arrange it for us.
Seattle Rock Orchestra.
Oh,
I have to.
Good times. Good times.
Yes.
Zach is one of our local gamers, and he's a rock star, and he sings in the Seattle Rock Orchestra.
He's going to be doing Bowie.
David Bowie, and he's got a good voice for that. So.
It's funny because Zach looks more like Brian May, right? The guitarist from Queen. He's got the long black curls and
He looks like Slash, kind of.
A little bit like Slash, yeah. Something
he
like
looks
that.
like Zach Davidson from Dead Red.
But his band plays like rock karaoke, which is it's like karaoke, except you go and rockaroke or whatever they call it.
Well, he does that as a gig. That's not his band. He's got like 3 bands though. But
he's always
Vendetta
doing
Red,
something.
like they've been around for quite a while, and
this is why he can't come to Sparkle Party.
Yeah, he misses tournaments because he's always off singing somewhere.
The hard life of a rock star.
Yeah, anyways.
Yeah. So there's no news, and I think we're going to refuse to acknowledge rumors.
Okay, that sounds
And-
good.
And
Yeah, because the rumors we're getting now, they're not like our normal rumors where we have a photo that
Right.
somebody posted of a
Right.
leaked white dwarf or something like that. It's just complete speculation at this point. Everybody calm down. Everybody remember what got you into the hobby in the first place, which was probably models, and the models aren't going anywhere. And if you got into the hobby because you like playing the game, just keep playing the game you're playing now, and you're gonna be fine.
and one more thing, most people probably got into the game because they liked hanging out with their buddies, right? And what their buddies happen to be playing this game is like, oh, cool, I'm going to pick that up. Go and hang out with more nerds and just spend time playing the game and having fun and shooting the breeze, because seriously, that's how my nerd bubble gets recharged. I had a great chat with Little Pat actually at Victory or Death, and I was talking a bit about burnout and a combination of burnout from this and from the tournament scene, and from being deeply involved in the Masters. And he said Chris Powell, a very competitive player, but takes everything in his stride. Right? He took that beating that he got by Ryan. Didn't even faze him. I played him last year at Victory or Death, same thing. And Pat said, that wasn't always the case. That, at one point in a tournament, he was playing against Pete Davis, and he got really kind of wound up and ended up pushing Pete, and they were yelling at each other. And then they just kind of had a moment of like, what the heck did we just do? And they started laughing. And, it just kind of shifted their attitude towards things. And Pete's exactly the same. He plays hard, but he also, happy to lose as much as he is to win. And that kind of helped, give me a bit of better perspective. It's like tournaments in a game like Warhammer are really, 5 organized games of Warhammer, as much as they are any kind of competitive
and that's
event.
what you got to treat them as. If you're just there to just roll dice and hang out with people that you like and play Warhammer with people you like, and then happen to win something,
Great.
That's just cherry on top.
And so that for me is what inspired me to start my ogre army. I'm like, I want to be there. I can have mad skills on the battlefield, but if I'm not enjoying myself, why? Why bother? And so I'm going to go there. I'm going to try and put the ogre army together, show off a little bit, and roll dice and have fun.
Yeah, good. I don't know what Tom's going to do.
I don't know what I'm going to do either.
You're going to come over and paint. We'll have a paint
Yeah,
night.
we'll do a paint. I need to paint. I just need to paint something.
Paint a Nurgling, and you'll feel so much better.
But what if Nurgling's on in 8th edition, man?
Oh, my gosh.
Doesn't matter. They're cute on their own.
You can play him in 40K. We'll just rebase him. There you go.
The Art of War.
Hills, marshes, rivers, forests. Oh my. So scenery plays
over the hill and through the woods. As we go.
Plays a very big part in the game. It's interesting. I don't know very many people who use the rulebook rules for generating scenery.
Yeah, very few, because the problem with their rules, and I'm trying to actually find where it is
D6
here.
plus 4.
You end up with so much on the table.
Yep.
That it becomes.
Is it D6 plus 4? So you
I
could
think,
end up with 10
I think
things.
it's 2d6.
2d6.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I gotta find it. Where is it here? Like I'm using the digital edition, so it's not exactly.
Yeah, it's not in the battlefield terrain part, I don't think.
No, it's in the setting up a game kind of section.
Fighting a Warhammer battle.
Fighting a Warhammer battle, right? Yeah. It's so weird that it's like in a different section.
Yeah.
Aha, here we go. Okay. 2d6.
No, it's D6 plus 4 pieces. You're right.
Okay.
And then you roll
each one is a
2d6 on the
2d6.
random
Yep,
terrain.
yep.
Yeah.
So you can end up with 10 things on the table.
Yeah, and I've had
What
that
would
happen.
would you say is average of the tournament number
Well,
of pieces you see?
Well, you're saying like 10 things on a table, but some of the things are like a village. They say place a village, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
I think average for most tournaments is about 5 to 6 pieces of game affecting terrain on the table. There might be other stuff that doesn't necessarily affect the game that much,
Yep.
but I think you see about 5 to 6. I know for Sparkle parties, I try to go with that. I try to have at least 6 pieces of terrain on the board, but I also try not to. I like to have little alleys and little things like that, where people would fight. But
so that's another thing. Do many, other than just the number of terrain pieces, do many people do the actual tactical terrain setting up kind of aspect of the game? Are you trying to gain some advantage by laying down pieces of terrain?
Some
where you
tournaments do it.
They do.
Like the Quake City Rumble, for example, the terrain is assigned to the table, but at the start of the game, the players take turns to set the terrain down.
terrain.
yeah,
So-
I haven't done that in a while at one of our regional tournaments.
Yeah.
I think Black Sheep Brawl, those tables were a little unplayable, some of them. So I think me and my opponent kind of just rearranged some stuff before the game started, and that does happen sometimes at other events where we'll get to the table and something obviously was moved because a display board needed to be put down or something, and like there's a stack of terrain over in one corner, so we'll
Yeah.
replace it. But I think almost all the times that happens, we do it aesthetically more than anything, and then we roll off for table sides,
Yeah.
because I think that's kind of what our default in our area has kind of become is the aesthetic reason, set the table for aesthetics. Does this look like it's maybe reality or probable, and is it playable for both sides, relatively fair?
Yep.
And then you roll a dice to see which side you get.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's just kind of I think maybe the more sporting way to do it.
I mean, I know when I went down to San Jose and I played a game just at a local game store, they used the random terrain chart, and we rolled a 6, and we had 10 pieces, and we rolled no forests, despite that being a 7 on the table, and so we had all these
So you have
buildings,
10 things that are not forests.
10 things that are not forests. We had a whole bunch of buildings, and it's luckily that we didn't roll like a settlement of order or an encampment of destruction, which is
Like 3 buildings.
3 buildings, 3 obstacles, plus one random other structure.
Yeah.
So I think those rules are they're. I'm not sure that you would they're probably great for a casual game, right? You play once every few weeks, and you play one game against your buddies, and you're putting whatever models you have on the table, sort of thing. I think if you're a regular gamer, I don't know anyone who uses them.
Yeah, I like just rocking up to a table that I've had no part in designing at all. Something that's just new and
Yeah, and the table generator takes so long.
yeah.
It does.
Yeah, because I mean, especially at game stores where terrain might be spread all over the store, and you're rolling stuff, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
let's see if we can find one of those somewhere here.
Yeah.
And half an hour later, you finally got a table set up that you could have done in 2 minutes if you just took whatever was on the table, made it look good, and
Right.
rolled the
My
dice.
preference, even for a casual game, would be to just say to if there's a third party present, just
Set up the
something
game.
up that
Yep.
looks like a battlefield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
We'll
to
fight
me
on it.
the best way to do it. Get someone else to set it up, and then you're done.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing is rolling like 2 or 3 rivers. Like, oh, well, yeah, there's
It's
that.
a delta.
Yeah.
Here we are on the delta. In
Why
the
did we
bayou.
choose to fight on the delta? Nobody knows. Okay, so we're not. I kind of want to shy away from talking about buildings, because the
Yeah, let's
rules for
skip that.
buildings are pretty complicated, and a lot of different areas either play them wrongly or deliberately, change the rules for buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk about the other types. So the four main types, aside from impassable terrain, you've got hills, forests,
Water features.
so
Mhm.
rivers and marshes, and obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the ones where you might make some tactical decision in the game that is because of the terrain feature, other than having to navigate around it, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about impassable terrain and what have you. But so those are the five types. Now, different, like in the Masters, for example, they say that anything that's impassable and any hill also blocks line of sight. Whereas in the rules, you're only blocking line of sight if you literally, a model's eye view, can't see the other model.
Them be the rules.
Yeah. So a lot of that, I think, depends on how big your scenery is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so much of like this discussion can also just come down to what you have.
Yeah,
Like
and how big your models are. You
Yeah.
know, back in the day when models were smaller, a hill genuinely would block most units.
It
from
usually
sight,
did, yeah.
But now
Yeah.
everything is
Now with
monstrous
Nagash.
cav and stuff.
Yeah.
Even like skull crushes, you'll see them over a hill. So models have just gotten bigger.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I want to see really big models,
Mhm.
At the same time,
You just need really big hills as well, then, bruh.
well, and
I know, we
that's
need
what
bigger
I've
tables.
that's what I've started to see, right? I've started to see hills that are 3 inches high, and now 2 levels of a 3-inch high hill, so that you can actually put a monster behind the hill and not have it be cannoned off on the first turn.
You'd still need to see Nagash's hat behind that.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
You'd still see most of the gash behind them.
and Glotkin's,
Wibbly bits.
wibbly bits, yeah.
Wibbly bits.
Yeah. So, I think my favorite thing about hills right now is that people forget you get +1 for charging down.
Oh yeah, I love that one too.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So, especially playing with the random movers, I play with the A-bomb or the Doom Wheel. Love putting those bros on a hill, and then you charge down, you get the impact hits, and you've got +1 static combat res from the charge and +1 from the hill. So it's interesting because a lot of the time when people are setting up a board, they put a hill at the back, right? It's kind of it's the natural place
To visually, yeah,
to visually
it's the
put
thing
it.
to do.
But it can be really interesting to plop a hill right in the center, or at least along the center line, because a lot of the time battles are fought about, we need to take that hill, right?
Sure. But how does that if you're using this rule where hills block lines of sight completely?
Yeah,
You have 2 units on the other side of the hill.
They can't charge each
or
other?
see each other. Yeah.
yeah. Well, which is actually kind of realistic when you
Yeah,
think
I
about it.
guess.
But I mean, it changes how you play the game, right? It's no different than having a big piece of impassable terrain, or a big building in the middle. You can't see the person on the other side. But the big difference with a hill is you get to the top, and now all of a sudden you can see, that entire half of the board. So anyway, that's my
You
kind
like a hill in the middle.
of.
Or you like to mix it up.
I like to mix it up a little bit because I think hills at the back favor artillery pieces, right? So if there's a hill at the back, you can either hide your monster behind it, or you can put your artillery piece on the top of it, but it's not going to play any part in the middle of the game. Really, it's unusual that you'll get a charge down a hill from in your back line. Well,
yeah,
maybe-
unless you're castling up on
Yeah.
that hill and then just charge down it.
That's true. And that is a valid tactic. So, what other rules are there for hills?
I mean, the special hills or just basic hills?
Just
They're
basic
just open
hills.
terrain, actually.
I don't
They're-
want to talk about any of the special.
Yeah, so if you're just doing a basic hill, they're considered open ground. They're the one thing that fanatics can hit without dying.
Yep.
And so yeah, they just count as open ground. But yeah, charging down them, you get the +1 bonus. I've had people charge all the way completely over a hill from one side to the other, and I still give them the bonus. So
Yeah, I mean, which
Yeah.
makes sense, right?
But
Because
isn't it supposed to be where you start the charge versus
I think
where you
so,
end the
but it's
charge?
just fun to do it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
yeah, that's true.
Let's see. Let's see. What else do they say about hills? I don't think
That's
there's
it?
really else. Now, yeah. So, I mean, for the most part, we're probably not going to talk that much about magical or
Mysterious terrain.
right?
Yeah.
Some of it is fun, but
Some of it is fun, but
I
it turns
think-
a 3-hour game into a 5-hour game.
yeah, and
and you're having to
I think
roll
our
on.
meta just kind of decided very early on that like mystical, is that what
Mysterious.
mysterious terrain, it sucks to play a game where the terrain wins the game. And that's usually what happens with terrain. That's some of them you get, they'll just, the one terrain
true.
piece will kill everybody, and we're like, well, that was fun
I
for
still
neither
like
of
to
us.
sometimes run just one mysterious thing and work out what it is at the beginning of the
Yeah,
game,
yeah.
so that then you can factor it into your plan and everything, and it's not just
Yeah.
going to be you get within 6 inches of it and then it
Yeah.
blows your whole army up.
Yeah, and I don't mind having one every now and then.
Mhm.
I think that, like you said, that is pretty fun. But yeah, just
But
like
I mean, if you take the rules
every
as written,
piece,
every single thing is supposed to be like that.
Mysterious,
so-
yeah.
and it
Well-
just feels so weird.
Yeah.
It
Like
does.
if the terrain was that deadly in the world, that nothing would be alive.
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting. OFCC last year, they had 2 pieces of mysterious terrain in each scenario. So they actually put little labels out on the terrain at the start of each scenario to remind you what it was, which I thought was good. And they selected the ones that were not too complicated, not too deadly.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Although they did have a scenario with a moving building. Do you remember that one?
Oh, I do remember that one.
and the building would smush things as it
Uh-huh.
moved.
And you got points for having your army crushed by it.
Yes, you did, which was pretty funny. Anyway, that's
Magical stuff.
I'm in agreement. I generally don't like the magical stuff. Not
Mhm.
just for exactly what you said, Tom. It just makes the game too long.
So long.
Yeah. Okay, so forests, something that's near and dear to my heart as a wood elf player. So
I love forests.
Oh, I hate them. They're terrible.
I wish
with the
I wish
chariot
that
army.
they
Yeah.
gave a few more penalties in the game. Actually, I feel like they're
You
not
get up
quite
too
as
late in a forest.
yeah. I think so. I think
I think that would just
all
make Forest
shooting-
Rider too powerful.
I think
I
shooting
think.
to at a unit that's in the forest should be -1. Shooting at a unit that's behind it should be -2. I think forest should stop cannons, things like that.
yeah,
Because I think making forest stop cannonballs fixes cannons a lot as they are now. Because there's almost always some forest, and that would give some place for those big monsters to hide.
that's true.
And it doesn't really change the rest of the game. You
Yep.
know?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. If you, because if you think about it, you put an obstacle down on the table, like a wooden fence.
Mhm.
That
Cannon.
wooden fence can stop a cannonball
Right,
Once.
but a forest.
once. Yeah, but a forest cannot,
Mm-hmm.
even though the tree has not been cut down or sawed.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. In fact, there's so much, actually, now that you say that, there's so much about the meta that would be fixed just by making forests block
Mhm.
cannonballs.
I think you should get down, compute the exact amount of free space that there would be to move through all the trees in the forest, and apply that probability to whether the cannonball hits the thing or not, or just hits a tree.
Shut up, Tom.
Or we just take a hammer and smash all cannons.
No, I do like having the cannons in there because monsters, especially now, are starting to become more and more powerful. So I have actually kind of come off of my anti-cannon rant.
Nah, I'm still on it.
But I do think that
I don't think the problem is cannons. I think the problem is the ridden monster rules. Because
Quite
I'm
possibly.
fine with like a 200-point unridden monster getting cannoned off in a lucky shot
yep,
or a shot.
but it's taking out
But
the
when it
character at
takes
the same
out
time.
a 400-point character with his 300-point mount,
Yeah.
it starts to get a little bit ridiculous.
Painful.
So change the ridden monster rules rather than the cannon rules. Anyway, that's an aside.
That's an aside, yeah. So the forest rules, Cavalry, monstrous cavalry, or chariots have to take a DT. And anything with the fly special rule that starts or ends its move in a forest has to take a DT. Now, the big thing that catches people is the chariots. I think they take multiple wounds in the forest if they fail their DT, but it doesn't say that in the forest section.
It says it in the dangerous terrain section.
It's in the dangerous terrain section,
Right.
yeah. Which the digital rulebook is great for being able to find that sort of thing. But so one tactic that I've used quite a lot, and this is good because you and I fight quite a bunch. Like with the wood elves, quite happily just keep an expensive unit in the forest, at the edge of the forest, shooting out, magicking out, whatever. Because there's quite a risk of if you charge into a forest with a chariot, there's a risk that that chariot will just die before it even hits my guys. I've had that happen more than once in a game. It's a risk you have to take, but sometimes you have to take it.
Ricky, if you're in favor of more penalties for forest, do you think a unit in a forest shooting out should take a penalty? I mean, they still got trees up in their face. All up in their business.
So here's the thing. Like in 7th edition, if you were within 2 inches of the edge, you shot without a penalty. That felt right, but it was really cumbersome to deal with.
Yeah.
I like they just went with, like, if you're in the woods, you don't have to deal with it. I kind of feel like that's okay with me. A cannon in the woods should not be able to shoot out of it. There's a tree right in front of it. Come on. But I don't know. I think it's fine. Who knows, man?
It's all fine.
It's fine. I just feel like I just wish that Forest gave a little more cover than they do. Just like the one soft cover doesn't really seem to, or not even that. Maybe it's just because it only affects ballistic skill shooting that is the issue for me, and it doesn't do anything to anything else. And trees are a huge thing.
If you've ever been in a forest and you kind of think like an actual dense forest.
That's what I'm saying. You look in one direction and most of what you see is just
tree.
Trunk.
Yeah, trunk.
Yeah.
And you look up and you're like, okay, can I imagine a great big boulder coming from a stone thrower, coming through this? And it's like, yeah, it would come through, but it would hit 3 or 4 trees and then it would kind of stop.
Or just make it so it always is like an indirect shot where it always scatters if you shoot into woods.
Yeah, it's going to bounce off some of those big trees.
It's like, this is all speculation. I think overall, though, for the way the woods work, I think they're pretty fun. Like, I love that skirmishers get to be stubborn in there. Even so, because when characters are a lone character, they're a skirmisher. So when they pop in, right? Is that
no, but they specifically say a single
and
lone
infantry characters.
Lone infantry characters.
Yep, they actually say it right there. So so I knew they got it. I just don't know how they got it. So they can be in there and be stubborn. So that's great. You can throw a lone infantry character in there and just be like, ha ha ha. And so I like that. I like
that the ranked up unit cannot be steadfast.
Yeah.
So that's, again, another good way if you're facing off against a horde army and you don't have a way to break their steadfast. Yeah. Hang out, wait for them in the forest.
Yeah. Yeah. Force them to come to you and just wait for it.
But one of the little tricks, for some people, this is probably obvious. For other people, it might be the first time they're hearing it. You take a unit of skirmishers, put them in a forest, and if they've got a champion in that unit, it can be a very easy way to delay a much bigger unit for several turns. If you've got the champion in the front rank and they're in a line, so I'm just talking like 5 models here. You accept the charge from the ranked up unit. You're stubborn. Your champion is the only thing that's going to die in the first turn, and then in the second turn, you get to fight back. But chances are, you might get wiped out to a model at that point, but because you're in a line, you're much more likely to only.
Yeah, you might have a model left.
You might have a
you're
model
still
left.
stubborn.
Yep. So I've used that to pretty good effect with like a little 75-point 5-man war dancer unit. And yeah, being stubborn is just fantastic. Getting
Yeah.
free stubborn for cheap troops,
Yeah.
a great way to do it. So I kind of pay a very close attention to where the forests are on the battlefield. I don't know if that's partially because I play a lot of Wood Elves, but it's also when I'm playing the Skaven, I want to avoid it with my Doom Wheel.
Yeah.
Right. So I put a Doom Wheel on a different side from the forests. And I want to make sure that if I'm going to have a combat in there, that I don't care about whether I'm steadfast or not.
Yeah. I think forests, as far as like an area of effect, have some of the strongest swings for big combat blocks. Like the fact that they disrupt that stubborn is really I know for my goblins is horrible. So I hate fighting in woods with my goblins, and I won't do it unless I absolutely have to, or they fail animosity and go do it themselves. So because it's bad, like I my army depends on stubborn, and if I'm not stubborn, I'm gonna have
So if you've got something expensive that you're trying to keep away from the ranked up units, stick them in the forest if you can. It's a great way to deter your opponent from actually coming in and getting you. Okay, so Rivers next up. Riley's favorite. So I think the killer thing about Rivers is that
The slowness of
the slow. You cannot march through a river.
And if you have a big unit, it can spend like 2 turns just getting through that river.
Yeah.
It's so slow.
It's realistic, but it's slow.
It is, but you realize like how much like the game depends on the marching dynamic. If everything was constrained to its base movement, it's the slowest game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
imagine
for sure.
if you could only use your base movement and charges were D6 instead of 2D6.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'd have to play on a 2-foot wide board. So here's the other thing about rivers. When it comes to, so they're not dangerous terrain. So you can actually, and this is weird, you can charge across them without it affecting your movement.
Right, which like if we're thinking in realistic terms,
Doesn't
it's
make
just
any
odd.
sense
You, like,
whatsoever.
hit the river with all that momentum, and then all of a sudden your momentum is just gone as you're like dragging your body through the water.
Run across the water, guys. I
That's
don't
what
see
it
the
is.
problem.
You're so excited to get into
you
combat.
just literally run across the water. Yeah, I don't see the issue.
Maybe a fleet-footed goblin.
Yeah.
An elf, I guess, not a big chunky chaos dwarf.
Any unit that's at least partially in a river can never be steadfast, and you cannot claim a rank bonus. So it's not like the forest where it's the majority of the models; it's even partially, which is just brutal.
It's just
And
death to big ranked up units.
Yeah.
Well, and
Because,
losing rank bonus too.
You lose rank
is
bonus, and
big.
you're not steadfast.
You lose rank bonus and steadfast, and at least you're going to be there for 3 turns as well. So.
Yeah. Well, I wonder why they did that. Was it to kind of, force home that message of, bridges and fords are really important.
Right.
Yeah,
You
yeah. I think it was. It's meant to really disrupt those
it's supposed to
fast-moving
disrupt.
armies. I think.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
fast-moving armies don't have as much of a problem. Like,
Yeah, they
if,
can
if
charge
my
across
cav,
it.
I just have to spend 1 turn with a movement 8 getting across that river,
Yeah.
and then my game is unaffected.
Yeah, for sure. And because it's not even dangerous terrain for
Right,
them, so they
right.
can charge across it with impunity. I think it really just brutalizes those big infantry blocks.
Yeah, dwarfs in particular, man. 3-inch move, if you have 5 ranks or something, and you're trying to get across a river.
Yeah. Actually, now I think about it, what would be really neat is if infantry were still able to march across it, but the cavalry were not.
That would be cool.
That would be, at least somewhat of an equalizer. And you think about, the cavalry trying to get across a river. Maybe it makes sense. I don't know.
Is
No,
there
I agree.
is there a specific in the rulebook, does it specifically tell you how many fords or bridges or crossing points you're supposed to have?
Let's see. Most
guideline?
rivers have at least one place where they can be crossed, as a bridge or a ford. Such crossing point should not be treated as open terrain, but only if the unit attempting to use the crossing point is in a narrow enough formation to fit across. Otherwise, treat the entire unit as being in the river.
Yeah.
So they say that you can have that, but that they don't nominate or say that you specifically have to.
Yeah.
But to your point, Aiden, I'm going to say, like, from my real world experience, because I grew up with ranchers and we used to ride horses all the time. We would ride horses full tilt down rocky roads, rocky open ground, whatever. The only time we would slow down is when we got to rivers, because the horses can't see. And the horses would have to go by feel. And so you'd have to slow down, because if they can't see where they're stepping, then that's a big problem for them.
Huh.
So we would always slow them way down, walk through the water. And this is New Mexico water, which is a stream that's maybe 10 feet across and 6 inches deep at most. And
Yep.
we would still have to slow down and walk them through that, because it's just, the horses, once they can't see it, it becomes a real issue.
Hazard,
So that
yeah.
would make sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, like you're saying, Tom, we would just walk right through that stream, no
Right.
problem.
Yeah.
But the horses, they have problems seeing into the water like that.
Huh.
So yeah,
Interesting.
so that
All right.
would be a
All right,
good.
so there's the dynamic. That's what you do.
Okay.
So we're just rewriting the rules tonight. Let's just do
Because
that.
then it would be cool, you know?
Yeah.
Like, especially with fast cav the way it is now, there does need to be something to slow down those armies.
Yeah. And, dealing with a river is, to me, what I try to do is march right up to it and then charge out of it.
Yeah.
Either charge it all the way across it,
Yeah.
or let them charge you and be disrupted.
Yes,
Yeah.
one of the two.
Yeah.
And there's pretty much no other way try and avoid going that part of the board if that's at all feasible, but it's not always.
Now, the thing that I'm gonna say is I don't see rivers ever. Like I use them at my tournaments.
Black Sheep Brawl had them
They did, but I didn't play on any of those
I did.
tables
against
And so-
Beasley.
Yeah.
I'm still bitter.
You can also, if you have the cav, you can use if it's, depending on where the river is, you can use your
Yeah.
Vanguard to get across it.
Yep,
and
that's
then
true.
That's not affected.
Yeah.
Mm.
And Scouts, obviously,
Vanguard.
Vanguard.
Yeah.
Broken Vanguard.
So
And-
sometimes, and what's interesting is the river rules apply to water features as well.
Yep.
But what we find most people using water feature terrain that they've got, they use it as a marshland rather than as a river, because maybe it just kind of makes more sense in people's minds. So the marshland, the tricky part is for anything with 4 legs, right? Cavalry, monstrous cavalry, chariots. The DT's failed on a 1 or a 2, and it's dangerous terrain for everything except skirmishers. So you want to march that infantry unit across the marsh. And I did it with a unit of 39 clan rats, and it's like, okay, I'm rolling 39 dice and I'm losing, I'm expecting to lose 6 or 7 of them. It's pretty funny. Actually, I lost 1, but I didn't expect that. I expected to lose 2 ranks, So yeah, Marsh is fantastic defensive terrain for exactly that reason, right?
Yeah.
It's like what was true about the forest is even more true about the marshland. It's like all of a sudden, those heavy cavalry with their 1-up armor saves do not want to charge your unit that's standing in the marshland, or the other side of the marshland. Whatever you need to do there. But that's the only thing. That's the only special rule for it. You can march through it. You can charge across it, and maybe that's why people use the ponds as marshes rather than rivers.
Simple. You
It's
just
simple. Yeah.
Lose some dudes. That's it. So it doesn't disrupt any
Yeah,
ranks
and
or-
they're
No.
so great for protecting a flank. Like if you can, if you can force people to charge you in the front
Yep.
and land in the marsh, that's great. But that's usually not an option. But just getting your unit right up next to it, it just can hold a whole flank for you, because people just can't get in there and really break you
Yeah.
as easily. So
Yeah. They're a little bit wary of charging across it. A little bit more wary. The neat thing is that it's not dangerous terrain to skirmishers. So you can also just, plop your skirmishers. I mean, having a marshland is, of course, exactly what you want to do when you have lizard men. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll just put my skink skirmishers in there, and they're aquatic, and so they get -2 to shoot at them, and they're quite happy to just hang out there. But for the rest of us, it's, as you say, it's a great flank protection.
For us mere mortals.
Yeah. Okay, obstacles.
Obstacles.
All right, so I know to my detriment that charging over an obstacle, if you're a chariot, is a dangerous terrain test.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So here's another thing.
When did you learn that?
And I learned
With the
that.
doom wheel?
No, this was with the Screaming Bell against Riley.
Oh no.
So what I didn't know at the time and what I know now, and I'm going to share it with all of our listeners so that they know, if your chariot takes a dangerous terrain test and fails, it takes D6 wounds, but
Is it D6? Or
it's
D6?
D6. Yep, it's D6 wounds. But you make any ward save that you have for each wound. It is not multiple wounds D6.
Oh.
It's D6 wounds.
Huh.
Right?
Yep.
So
That's how it works?
and that's how it works. So when you've got a 4-up like you do on a Screaming Bell, you take 6 wounds, you're likely to save 3 of them
Yeah.
and not die.
Instead of failing
saving.
one ward save.
Failing
and
one
just
ward
dying
save
outright.
and losing your bell on turn 1, which is what happened to me.
But I'm not bitter.
Not bitter about that one.
bitter.
This is what happened to me.
Yeah. No. So there's that.
Yeah. So I like obstacles. I like the way they look on the table. But other than really negatively affecting chariots and tripping giants.
And cannonballs.
They block
and-
cannonballs.
And blocking a cannonball once, because once a cannonball hits it once, it removes it.
But then you just
Yeah.
move behind a different section of fence.
Yeah.
So they don't really have that big of an effect on the game, really. Like the combat thing where, what is it? It's -1 to hit typically.
It's -1 if you are defending an obstacle. Whenever you're
It's
charged,
only on the turn that you get charged.
only on the turn you get charged, that other unit is -1 to hit you. And the downside is that they only need to charge to the wall, not to your unit.
Right.
So that you're basically giving them an extra inch in the charge range. I think it's pretty good whenever you are. I mean, it counts as hard cover. So if you're
Yep.
being shot at, you can go hide behind that wall.
I just think it should count as extra armor too. That's just
Any
me.
way to try and get some armor, eh, Rick?
I know, right? I'll take anything I
Anyway.
can get. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I feel like they affect the game so little, and it just seems like in a game where you're trying to poke somebody with a sharp stick, getting behind a wall seems like a really big advantage, and you don't really get that sense. And but I know that I've won combat simply because I had that -1
I find
to
them
hit.
to be pretty. I think they have a pretty decent sized effect on the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually
like
really
this-
like obstacles.
I wish
Yeah,
they
for
would
a
stop
shooting
impact
unit.
hits too. I wish they would kind of stop impact hits
Yeah,
Mm.
I mean that.
or
that-
divide them amongst the thing that hits you.
I mean, for a shooting unit to be, just be able to hang out by an obstacle all game and have, the units you're most scared of, like, fast stuff, cavalry, to have them take a dangerous terrain test and then be at -1 to hit you
that's pretty good.
is
Yeah,
really nice.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's I definitely have done that multiple times where I've deliberately moved to go and man the barricade, because I'm expecting to receive a charge from cavalry.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't always necessarily help, but it certainly, I feel like it reduces the casualties that I take in that first round for sure. So I like them a lot. I like that they have a little bit of an effect, you can march right over them and not care as long as you're infantry, or a monster or whatever else. They only tend to affect cavalry, and I like things that mess with cavalry because I think I don't like heavy cavalry, cavalry heavy army lists.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any particular tricks though with an obstacle.
No, I mean it's going to depend on how they were set up on the table, really.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get a good unit behind there, and you're fine just sitting back and waiting, then that's going to serve you well. But yeah, in general, like I said, I don't feel like they really affect the game that much.
Yep.
Not like a forest does, where you have, a 10, 12-inch area that's just kind of
Well, maybe
really
it comes back to the same thing of people tend to put forests kind of close to the walls close to a table edge, but maybe you need a big wall right across the middle of the table for it to start messing with things a little more.
Yeah, I've seen some really weird things happen whenever you have like two walls that are 8 inches apart and maybe at a 45-degree angle, but right in the middle of the battlefield. Now all of a sudden, it can really change how people set up their armies.
Right.
And
What
move
if you were
around.
fighting over a kind of English countryside field landscape where you have little walls separating all these? You could end up with most of the table kind of crisscrossed with walls.
That'd be. I mean, I think it would make for a
sweet.
fascinating game.
I'll set it up at the next Sparkle Party.
There you
Make
go.
everybody
Yeah.
mad again.
Okay, so next in the list is monuments and buildings, but I think monuments are really only impassable terrain that's got some mystical properties.
Yeah, so they're just the mysterious terrain. And they're the ones, these are the ones we were talking about earlier that often would win the game on their own.
Yeah.
They're fun to play with every now and then, but in general,
Agreed.
make sure you and your opponent both want to use it, because you could end up
Conceptual obstacles only.
Yeah, you could end up with one that just kind of really makes it an unpleasant game for one person or for both people, and it's just not worth it. I mean, you didn't come to play against the table. You came to play against your buddy.
Yeah.
And it feels weird when the table beats you.
Yeah, for sure. And buildings I don't really want to talk about because their rules are so complicated that
that's a whole episode.
no matter how many times I play with them, I still sometimes misremember bits and pieces.
Oh yeah. Every time I have to look stuff up.
Yeah.
Every tournament, people are like, "How do we do this? Let's double check."
But let's just talk a little bit about impassable terrain. So you're talking about how you can use the marshland to protect a flank. I mean, that's the obvious use for impassable terrain as well.
Yeah.
Is I'm setting things up so that I can't be charged on the flank.
Yeah.
Or I'm facing my opponent has this big unit that wants to charge me. So I change my facing such that it has to charge me in the front. But there's no room for it to land in the front, and therefore it can't charge me, right?
Yeah.
That's another tactic I've seen used pretty effectively around impassable stuff. Any other stuff that you guys have seen?
I know it kills fanatics, which I find highly annoying. I think the most the most obvious thing is most people like large masses of impassable terrain just for cannonball denial. And for the most part, if it's really cool looking terrain, that's great. I don't like it when there's huge chunks of impassable terrain. It kind of takes whole parts of the table out of play, but sometimes that can be fun too. So I don't know. I mean, it's just it's an area you can't go. So there's.
Yeah, the 1 inch rule I think messes people up a little bit as well.
Yeah, I don't really
I think
like
the
it.
1 inch rule should apply to terrain at all.
No, and that's what I usually do at Sparkle Party. I say if it's gray, you can't go on it, but literally on it, but you can be within an inch of it because it's just so weird. you know.
I actually think the 1-inch rule is kind of negated by the fact that almost everybody has movement trays for their
Mhm.
units.
It's true.
The whole point of the
I mean, that's
1-inch
adding,
rule.
like,
What's
a
it?
quarter of an inch. At the
No,
most.
I know, but the whole point of the 1-inch rule was so you could tell units apart.
Oh, right.
And so it's like, well, I can tell them apart because they're on a different movement tray.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there's a natural gap there.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
And
I have it written down on a piece of paper. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, I get the 1-inch rule, but I also think it's just silly.
yeah, I very rarely ever I enforce it with my opponent or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Only if somebody's like trying to redirect you or something and gets up really close up in your face.
Yep, that's
Like,
about the only
step
times.
off a little. But that's mainly just a psychological thing anyway. This doesn't affect the game. You just like to be able to tell them to
Step
step
up.
back a little bit.
Yeah.
Step back.
Well, there's another thing that you can do with the impassable terrain. Let's say, for example, you have your juicy wizard bunker back from the impassable terrain, and you have a strong anvil unit in front of them. And there's a gap between that anvil unit and the impassable terrain. You can look at your opponent's charging unit and go, okay, well, they're 6 inches across. So all I have to do is make sure that gap between the impassable terrain and my anvil unit is less than 6 inches, and they can't charge through and hit my, juicy mage bunker at the back.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, I mean, so impassable, when you flee through it, you're assumed to kind of go around the sides
Yep.
and escape around the other side, but the pursuer can't go through it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a way of also, pushing something right up into the face of a Death Star or whatever,
yeah.
getting off some shots, and then being able to scarp
Yep.
in a flee move.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, you can use it to block a charge pretty effectively that
Right.
way.
Yep, and you can also use it to block an overrun. So, for example, if you've got frenzied troops, you can.
Here, go stare at a wall for a few minutes, guys.
Yep, you can do that, but you can also set up your charge such that your overrun only takes you into the impassable terrain. So you maybe only overrun a couple of inches as opposed to the 12 inches that you or 10 inches that you might have otherwise overrun. Okay, cool. So we kind of talked about setting up the terrain. We talked about the different types and some of the things that we like and dislike and use with those terrain pieces. Is there anything else we want to talk about on the terrain side?
No.
I love those cogent thoughts there.
I would say just use the terrain that you guys feel
Just
feels
make it look
fun.
pretty.
Yeah, and make it look pretty.
Yep.
But,
Yeah, you can build terrain very cheaply and easily, and
mhm.
we will probably talk about that real soon.
All right.
The hobby.
So we kind of faked you out with any kind of hobby horse section in this one. Part of the reason is that Jesse really wanted to be here to talk about terrain. I think because he dropped a whole pile of money on tabletop world
Tabletop,
stuff.
which belated news and rumors. They
Yeah.
put up a new bridge, epic bridge.
It's a really cool bridge.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
We'll
I
let
gotta
Jesse
check
talk
that
about it.
out. Yeah. So we will forego our hobby horse in this section, in this episode, and we'll bring it back next episode. And I'm going to force Tom to come back in 2 weeks' time. So
2 weeks?
Yeah. Yep. That's all the break time you get, dude. I'm going to force you into hobby.
Oh, let's see if I'm even here.
Yeah.
I'm a busy man. I got places to go.
Yeah. People to see.
It's whatever.
So you can connect with us on our forums. Please leave us a review on iTunes. We also have a Facebook page. You can follow us on Twitter at Cascade Podcast for me and at Ricky_Fisher for Ricky.
Is that all the social media we have? Just that?
Just that. I think
Do we have like a Tinder account or something?
a Tinder account. so we can all go flirting.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
So people can swipe us left or right.
yeah. I don't really
Would
understand
that would be an interesting app to develop. Is a swipe based app for
Opponent finding.
opponent Warhammer find could you imagine?
People could post pictures of their army. and
Yeah,
be
be like,
nah, I don't want to play that.
don't wanna play that.
Ooh,
I'll play that.
one.
Isn't that how Cool Mini or Not got started?
Is it?
Maybe I think so. Yeah, it was all just voting up or
Voting
down.
up or down on whether you thought it was a
But
cool
Tinder, if there was a Tinder version, it would like show up all the people. You would know. You wouldn't even have to go onto
Yeah.
forums to find opponents. It would just show up all the other Warhammer players that are within a mile of you, show you pictures of their armies.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Except there wouldn't be any. It's like within a mile
that's
of
true.
me. There's no
Well,
there's no Warhammer players. Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to broaden your horizons too. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
several hundred miles.
Yeah.
Get working on it, Aiden. It's the next big thing.
No way, man. No way. My hobby time is not going to be spent on writing code. That's my day job. Okay, so thanks very much for joining us, and I'm gonna literally, like I said, torture these guys to make sure we get back within a couple of weeks. So until then, take it easy.
Bye.